There we go. All right. Now we should be okay. Muted. Okay. Audio is okay. Let me know, guys. Let me know. Are we okay now? There's a delay. There's like a 20-second delay from when I talk to when you guys. There we go. Now I think we're okay. Okay. I got like 3 different places I have to deal with audio, so I always forget one. Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. And more important news, Texas is winning. Way to go, Kristen.
Did you know that
All right.
Facebook mutes their audio?
Yeah, I turned it up.
Okay. Turn it up.
Yeah, I turned it on. All right. So, all right. So we're going to pick up on day 4. Day 4 of the Timothy Herrington trial and the murder of Jimmy J. Lee. Sorry, yeah, Jimmy J. Lee. Cats are running all around. All right, so just a quick overview if you guys or haven't watched the first couple days. So Sheldon Timothy Herrington Jr. Is on trial for the death of Jimmy J. Lee. They both went to the University of Mississippi, or Ole Miss. Jimmy J. Disappeared July 8th, 2022. And even though his body was never discovered, his parents asked a judge to declare him deceased. And that was in October of this year. There is, so Jimmy J. was a part of the LGBTQ community. He was identified as a male, but he liked to dress in drag, if you will, as a female. It was uncovered that in day 3 that Sergeant Ben Douglas, gave us some text messages via Snapchat that Herrington did indeed know Jimmy J. I just say J. Lee, I guess. I'll go with J. Lee. And that those two had a conversation between in the morning. Let me just check this out real quick again. Between, between 5:17, I believe, and 6:03. And I thought that was pretty damning evidence, was day 3, where initially Jay blocked Herrington, and he's like, Herrington reached out to him and he's like, who's this? Why are you texting me? And this was all via Snapchat. And so the messages between the two was 5:17 to 6:03. And at 5:25, Tim texts, come back. 5:37, Lee's like, yeah, you're just going to try to lure me over there to beat me up. And then at 5:56, Tim searches on Google, how long does it take, again, how long does it take to strangle somebody? Gabby Petito popped in. And then at 6:03, Jay left his apartment. And then Red Eye 24, which was the account that Timothy was using, he deactivated that on July 8th. And July 8th happened to be Jay's mom's birthday. And she reported him like a welfare check immediately because she says, they talked like all the time, texted all the time, every day, multiple times a day. And it was her birthday, so she woke up, I think, at 7. And she called him and he did not answer. And something happened between 6 and 7 because we found out that Timothy, allegedly, but seems pretty good right now, took Jay's car, drove it to Molly Bar Trails, dropped it off. We saw him coming in. He left jogging, and that was at 7:34. So he dropped the car off at 7:25. Was seen jogging out at 7:34, and then he was picked up by Keziah at 7:38. So something happened between 6:03 when Jay left, and then 7 o'clock. Mom tried to call him, so something happened. Actually, he said there was a text saying "Come on in" or "I'm here" or something like that. Left his apartment at 6:03. and he said, "I'm here," or something like that. So apparently he was at Timothy's apartment. So anyway, all right. So let's check in. Who's here? This one's only going to be like 4 hours. Now, it was weird because I think the jury was shown yesterday accidentally or something. So by my estimate, it should have been about 6 or 7 hours, but it seems like it's only 4. So we should be done. Yeah, we'll be done around 9:30 or so. All right, is everybody here? Tennis Girl, I see you're in the chat. Cool. Fanny Pack, Regina Crawford, cool. Dwayne, Gordon, Therapist You Know. Thank you, Krista. Limited edition, thank you. And thank you for those cups of coffee earlier. Really appreciated it. Trial Junkies United. Objection. Thank you for making it unbalanced. Fanny Pack, yes. Unbalanced equation. Dwayne Harris. DNIC, you guys all made it. Julie, awesome. Thank you for all making it from the portal from day 3. So all right, let's get started on day 4. We're going to start with... I found this great recap, you guys. I'm not going to reveal my sources, but it's a great recap. Oh, and Capri Law, she gave us a good timeline too, which I'm going to bring in. I brought in a little bit day 3. I think we can bring in a little bit more. All right, so we're going to start with day 6. And let's get to it. Gonna make myself pipsqueege, and I'm gonna go silent.
Subpoena that you expect to be called as a witness in this matter, the state needs to know who that witness is.
I represent to the court that everybody that we've issued subpoenas for at this time was on our discovery. I cannot represent to the court until such time as the state moves forward with their case. I may, as soon as I know that this witness is off of my list, I'll provide it to them once I issue a subpoena for them. But I don't anticipate that being the case.
Once you
We've supplemented our discovery with witnesses 5 times prior to the commencement of this trial in an effort to comply with the rule. We thought complying with the rule. The first one we got was a week before trial.
I don't want to interrupt, but I don't think the rule allows for the circuit court to issue subpoenas in blank and hand a cache of subpoenas to a lawyer that they can just write whoever they want to.
You better read the rule.
I think it probably the new rules don't even require the clerk to issue issue the subpoenas that the attorney, at least in civil proceedings, that to and I don't know if that applies to criminal proceedings or not, that the attorneys are authorized to issue their own subpoenas.
That's correct.
I haven't been presented with that situation yet, and it's a brand new rule anyway, so I'm not up to date on it. But I do believe the Supreme Court authorized attorneys to issue their own subpoena without the necessity of even going through the clerk's office.
That's exactly right.
I do want to look at that rule and see if it applies to the.
It also provides for issuing subpoenas in blank. That has not changed. But nonetheless, Your Honor, I'm representing to the court that everybody, if there's a witness outside of what we've already disclosed, they will be timely notified when I know about it. They gave me a witness statement during the course of this trial that was untimely. We hadn't gotten to that yet. But, Your Honor, I understand what the rule is on disclosure. I've been complying with it up to this point in time, and I anticipate I will moving forward. But there's nothing wrong with what he's introduced in the exhibit.
I believe under the new rules that, and I just happen to remember that. I think it's been the last, maybe effective July the 1st, I think it was.
Before that,
that the clerk doesn't even have to issue subpoenas, that the attorneys are are authorized to do so. I've seen somebody pulling out a rule book there. That may not even be a new enough rule book, but I think it just has become effective.
Your Honor, but
I'm going to expect all parties, when they know they're going to call a witness, if that witness has been identified in the discovery, you'll have some more leeway.
sure.
If it's not somebody that's coming out of the woodwork, don't be surprised if they don't.
We don't have any squirrel hunters, Your Honor.
All right. Hang on, I see y'all looking at the rule there now anyway.
Your Honor, just for the record, 45A clearly says that the clerk can issue subpoenas in blank to a party requesting it. And that's what those are in blank.
I think that, and as I believe as of July the 1st, and the clerk may want to take notice of this, look at the new rules anyway. I think you can tell the lawyers, go issue your own subpoenas. We busy today.
We'd like to know about it when they do.
Do what now?
We would like to know about it when they issue.
And Judge, we ask the same when the state is among the seal of the send us a copy. We'd like to know about it.
All right, we're
All
gonna.
right, Judge, I think
At this point, I've found no violation of the rules by the issuing of the subpoenas in blank. If a witness is discovered late, I'll deal with them on an individual basis.
Thank you.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there anyway. But I'm telling everybody, if you're gonna call somebody as a witness, tell the other side.
fair enough.
All right?
Your Honor,
You started on your corpus delicti.
yes, Your Honor, motion in limine at this point in time to preclude the state from moving forward on any other proof pertaining to evidence extraneous outside the scope of any, well, not necessarily outside the scope, but out as far as being relevant. The court ruled earlier that the relevancy as to what transpired here in Lafayette County as to some of the stuff over defendant's objection. My understanding is that the state anticipates placing into evidence witnesses from Grenada pertaining to a box truck that has apparently, according to the state and understand through the course of discovery, could be deemed relevant should the proper predicate haven't been laid. At this point in time, the court has been very lenient on the state as far as, you know, like the court said the first day, let's get started somewhere. And understand that's what they did. They were to establish that there was a missing person report, establish that the last person that talked to him, or at least the last person that may have talked to him, was at least our client. That's as far as we've gotten, Your Honor. Now I understand they're wanting to head to Grenada and start introducing videos in Grenada without any connection to any crime or anything whatsoever. But the problem that is created for the defense, Your Honor, as far as, you know, objected constantly on grounds of relevancy, and the court has been very liberally in its approach to allowing the state to introduce conversations between apparently our client and the alleged deceased, and allowed to do so over our objection as to hearsay, objections to relevancy, all those things. That at this point in time, there's been no connection to any evidence of a crime having been committed. All we've got right now is somebody talked to somebody on the phone. It was seen apparently in close proximity to the individual's car. Your Honor, at this point in time, under Pitts versus State, which is a real old case, 43 Mississippi 472, two things that have to occur before you go forward on a homicide case, in all cases, really. First of all, when it pertains to homicide, you have to prove the fact of a death. The second is the existence that there's some criminal agency that caused that death. And it states in there, the former must be proven by direct or presumptive evidence, but the latter must be established by circumstantial or presumptive evidence. And that's the order in which they have to do that, Your Honor. We've gone kind of...
Back up on that. The first being that the two elements, one of them direct or... Run over that statement there with me again anyway. Hang on, let him have his say and I'll give you yours.
It's a whole case. Basically, it says, first is the fact of death. The former must be proven by direct testimony or presumptive evidence of the strongest kind.
What is the first?
Fact of death.
Fact of death. Okay, go ahead.
Must be proven either by direct testimony or the presumptive evidence of the strongest kind, but the latter may be established by circumstantial evidence or by presumptive reasoning upon the facts and circumstances of the case. It also states that a dead body or its remains having been discovered and identified as the person charged to have been killed, and the basis of the corpus delicti being thus fully established, the next step in the process and the one which serves to complete the proof of that indispensable preliminary fact is to show that the death has been occasioned by the criminal act or agency of another. You prove a death, then you prove criminal agency. And the court that allowed them to go forward with, in this case, by just doing the missing person, conversations, things of that nature, videos over our objection. And our position is, Your Honor, that should not have occurred, and it's also putting us in a situation where when we're objecting to certain evidence as being hearsay or things of that nature, and the court says, well, these are conversations between these two individuals and other individuals. Well, on the grounds of relevance, anything in all this pile of exhibits here ought to be relevant. We shouldn't be discriminating as to whether or not a conversation that was 2 weeks earlier between Jay Lee and some other guy is too remote in time, because we don't know if it's too remote in time or not, Your Honor, based on what they presented. The manner in which they presented their case, there should not be any reservation for this court to say, get it in. Any conversations. They're asking the court to make determinations on what's relevant as to what occurred on the date in question by virtue of the fact, because asking the court to make quantum leaps as to whether or not anything occurred and proof moving forward. That's basically what they're doing. It's just like a 911 call. When you get a 911 call, someone says, well, someone's hurt at a house. The next proof is we're going to put into evidence there's a gun somewhere and say, this is not the way you try any case, Your Honor. You can't do that. You have got to prove corpus delicti in a fashion that is done. Prove that there is, in this particular case, a death, and circumstantial evidence or direct evidence that supports that there's some criminal agency that caused that death. What evidence of criminal agency have they put on at this point in time to allow this proof to come in about things that have occurred in Grenada County? What evidence have they put on to support any of the videos that they've introduced at this point in time? Nothing. They got a missing person. I understand that. His car's driving through town. Very confusing to the jury at this point in time. But what put us in a bind, Your Honor, is when we approach the rail and we say we're arguing about exhibits 31 through 37 and whether or not this officer can testify about this report. none of those objections should in any way, shape, form, or fashion even come close to being granted, because the court has no information as to what's relevant moving forward. Your Honor, we just need at this point in time to get back to Oxford and let them put some proof on at this point in time that there is a crime that's been committed before we drive back down to my neck of the woods and start putting videos on. That's not asking too much, Your Honor, to follow the law. And you did say the first day we got to start somewhere, and we did. But now's the time for us to stop it. And I don't think we should have started it in the first place, but now's the time to stop it, Your Honor.
All right, I'll hear from the state.
Your Honor, I have a number of cases on corpus delicti. The law is basically the same last 200 years.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. It was honestly very hard to follow defense counsel's argument because it was nonsensical. I will say that the defense cannot tell the state how to put on their case. Corpus delicti is, first you have to prove that there was a death, and that the fact of the death, that someone has died. That's element one. And two, element two is that that person died as a result of a criminal action, criminal agency. None of that case law tells you the order in which you have to prove it. It does not say that. The case law just says there's two elements to corpus delicti. It does not say, oh, you have to prove this and then you have to prove this. I too have read all the cases in Mississippi on corpus delicti, and it does not say that. You could, if you want to interpret it in that way because it says there are two elements, then you can. But as defense counsel, he is correct in saying that the first element of corpus delicti, a death, it is proven by either one, direct testimony, or two, presumptive evidence of the strongest kind, which can also just be circumstantial evidence. The second element of corpus delicti can be proven by circumstantial evidence as well. Your Honor, all of this, obviously we do not have a body in this case. Obviously, because of that, we're proving a circumstantial case. Your Honor, to say that it's remote in time, as to messages with Jay Lee from 2 weeks ago, we know he was still alive based on the proof. We know he was still alive back then. So if you say those messages, how are they? They are remote. He wasn't killed 2 weeks prior to this. His digital footprint stops after he went to Tim Herrington's home. The evidence that's come forward right now, Your Honor, is that Tim Herrington invited him over to his house, his apartment. That right before he got there, Tim Herrington Googled, how long does it take to strangle someone? That Tim Herrington is presumed to be the person who's dropped Jay Lee's car off at Molly Bar Trails. That Jay Lee did not give anyone rides in his vehicle. That Jay Lee's abandoned his dog. That Jay Lee's accounts haven't been touched. That Jay Lee, since he last texted Tim Herrington, that the last text that Jay Lee ever sent was open to Tim Herrington. That is what's come forward. And that the last person who has ever seen Jay Lee alive is Tim Herrington. Grenada comes in as to criminal agency because what we will find out as this case goes on, that the same day after Tim Herrington dropped off Jay Lee's car at Molly Bar Trails and pretended like he had been running that whole time and was picked up by Tyson King, he then got his box truck from his moving company and went to his parents' house, didn't drop anything off, and put shovels and a wheelbarrow into his box truck. To say that that is not proof of death or circumstantial evidence related to death is bears belief. It's bizarre. Your Honor, the defense counsel wants to make corpus delicti that says you have to prove this first and this second. The case law says you have to prove the elements of corpus delicti for homicide. The elements of corpus delicti. That's what you have to prove. The state is in the process of proving that. We have laid out evidence where Jay Lee could be found by this court and by a juror to have been killed, that Jay Lee, and it could have been by way of criminal agency. And we're still in the process of presenting our proof, Your Honor. We haven't even finished. But to say we have to present it in the order that defense counsel would like us to present it in is, there's no case law in Mississippi that says that. We get to put on our case. Further, I would say, Your Honor, that this entire thing with the witnesses from Grenada, the truth is that They wanted to exclude all of our witnesses based on, or all of our evidence, because they know it's of guilt of their client based upon procedural issues. Because they didn't think that we would be able to get all these people in here to testify. Now that we have them, now that they're coming in to testify, to authenticate and all these videos, now there's another problem. Well, if that was always a problem, why didn't you file that motion in limine before trial? Oh yeah, because it's not about that. Because you really want to do this because you know that makes your client look even guiltier. And that's what's going on here.
All right. I'll give you a chance to respond.
Your Honor, his case lays out basically what you have to do.
I've read the Pitts case while I've been here.
Yeah, the next step in the process is to complete the proof. I don't know what I missed in this particular trial, but I heard the officer testify that the phone was pinging at a location away from close to Stone Park. That's no evidence that Jay Lee has perished. There's no criminal agency been established at all, Your Honor. All this stuff about the notice of intent, all that stuff is irrelevant to what the court has got to do here.
Make it up for me.
Your Honor.
Defense counsel said that.
I'm familiar with your arguments anyway.
Your Honor.
Court's ready to rule. Pitts case back a long time ago, 1870, I think, October of 1870, says two fundamental elements of corpus delicti. First, the death must be proved by direct evidence. I take direct evidence of there's a body, or presumptive evidence of the strongest kind. Courts of the opinion, when the mother, who was the first witness, got through testifying, that she talked to her son several times a day. He always talked to her on Mother's Day. She's not heard from him. He left his dog. He's been no account activities active on social media, and he has not been heard from since July the 8th of 2022, that is presumptive evidence of the strongest kind of a death. I think that element to a reasonable juror could be found as soon as the mother got through testifying. So the court's going to find that, to the court's satisfaction, that there has been presumptive evidence of the strongest kind of a death. We've had that testimony in this case, and the criminal agency may then be established by presumptive reasoning upon all the facts and circumstances of the case, i.e. circumstantial evidence. And the state has set about offering circumstantial evidence of the criminal agency in this matter. I think that the state has put on sufficient evidence at this time to warrant the introduction of additional information on the evidence of criminal agency and death. I think that I'm not so sure about when all this has to occur, but the court is finding that there have been presumptive evidence of the strongest kind of a death in this matter, and I'm going to let the state continue to put on its circumstantial evidence of criminal agency, and that's so. I've heard your objections, and the court's going to make that ruling. All right. Are we ready for our next witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Let the court take just a couple of minute breaks, and then we'll get started.
All right, chat, just going to pop in here real quick. So did you guys catch that? So they were arguing that the state had not proven that Jay actually was unalived. But then, let's see. Yeah, they had not proved that it happened, and it didn't happen as a result of a crime. But then prosecutor Gwen, she argued that they didn't have to prove that, and then the crime happened in any particular order. I love the fact that she came screaming in the way she did. But they do plan on playing some testimony later in the trial. And then the judge ruled that Lee's mother, Stephanie, did say, because he's not returning my phone calls, he's not returning my text messages, I talk to my boy every day. You know, a judge did declare Lee, Jay Lee had died in October. And then as far as the criminal agency, they have offered enough sufficient evidence. So, that being said, let's move forward a little bit here.
That's all we can do. I would say I'm glad today's Friday, but it really don't matter today.
I just want to report, obviously, I'm going to run out to go take care of something.
We'll-
I don't want to delay the court, just.
We'll start without you. Let us know when you're ready, okay?
I'm going to pop in here because this feed, I can't really fast forward it the way I normally do because I don't want to screw things up. So you guys have any questions? Yeah, I'm really interested in this funeral home. I mean, I know we've been going back and forth with that with day 3. Man, if his family owned a funeral home and a crematorium at the same time, that could definitely get interesting. But we haven't heard anything about that, I guess, other than rumors. Chat, what do you got? What do you got going on? Any questions? You guys all cool? Will Miss, they heard me? Yes. Julie, yeah, arguing takes all the fun out of trial watching. Well, they do a lot of arguing, don't they? And they were getting pretty spicy there. I think Prosecutor Gwen has had enough. Yeah, Crystal Limited Edition, box truck, wheelbarrow, and I think there was wheelbarrow and barrow. That doesn't sound right, but yeah, and shovels. And I'm pretty sure that's going to come in. Capri Law you had mentioned a box truck in your timeline here, and I had no idea what you meant by that. But okay, so at 6:57, a box truck goes by, so we'll have to keep our eyes out for that. Thank you, Capri Law, for that.
Sorry for the delay in getting y'all started. We've been started a while, but maybe some of the matters we've taken up before y'all got seated here will move things along today. Trust no one had any problems with the court's instructions not to investigate or discuss the case. I know there's been media coverage of this matter. Watching something, seeing something, and it begins to play, turn your head, turn it off, whatever. Make every precaution to make sure you learn nothing about this case, or think you learned anything about this case, other than from the witness stand. With that being said, who would state call as its next witness? We finished with the witness yesterday, is that right? We started? Okay. All right, who's your next witness?
Leslie Christians.
All right. Before that S-43, those were they got marked. Okay, I've got it right here anyway. Might as well get used to it.
May I proceed?
You may.
Tell the jury who you are.
My name is Leslie Christian. I have been employed with Renaissance Bank for 24 years, and I am currently the financial crime supervisor.
Okay. So you work for Renaissance Bank. Do you work in Tupelo?
I do.
Okay. Do you have a Renaissance branch bank in Grenada?
Yes, we actually have two.
Is that on Commerce Street?
It is
What's the address there?
1537.
1537 Commerce Street. Now, at that location, is there an ATM?
Yes, there is.
Does that ATM have video recorder?
Yes, it does.
Now, I want to direct your attention back to July 8th of 2022. Around that time frame, summer of 2022, did law enforcement come looking for video surveillance from that branch bank at 1537 Commerce Street in Grenada?
That is correct. We received a subpoena.
All right. Did you respond to that?
I did.
Did you pull the footage from that ATM?
I did.
All right. May I approach?
Okay.
Have this marked for identification.
Your Honor, we don't have a problem with it being admitted with the court noting our previous objections.
All right.
As to
No.
relevance at this point in time, and also other objections.
Do
Other
it.
objections prior,
Okay, prior objection.
and the objections are relevant at this time.
All right. Okay. That's going to be a thumb drive. All right, the S-44 will be admitted.
I believe what we're going to do is just put a frame of that exhibit up, and I think you'll be able to see it on the monitor. And while he's doing that, the contents of that jump drive, have you reviewed that?
Yes, I have.
Is that the same surveillance video that you provided law enforcement?
Yes, it is.
Back in 2022?
Yes.
Now, the duration or length of that clip that you provided, was that about 1 minute and 3 seconds?
Yes, it was.
All right. All right, can you see the image
Yes.
on your monitor? Now I'm going to direct your attention to the timestamp. Was that date and timestamp accurate?
Yes, it was.
All right, so where it says, it's got 2022 first, referring to the year, correct?
Correct.
And then the date would be 7/8,
Correct.
which is July the 8th.
Right.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then the time stamp on it is 18:55 and 14 seconds.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. With that, looking at that time, would that be AM or PM?
This would be military time, so this would be 6:55 p.m.
6:55 PM is the correct time.
Correct.
Was the date and time accurate?
Yes, it directly matched to a transaction that we were able to find a record of.
Before speaking the microphone a little more, okay? I'm
You need to hear the response. Was the time and date accurate?
Yes, it was.
All right. Is the time and date on that exhibit accurate now?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Tender the witness, Your Honor.
Any cross-examination?
No cross.
Maybe the shortest witness we have this year, today. Thank you for being here. Have a safe trip.
Absolutely, thank
Now
you.
this witness is free to go. You're free to go. Thank you. Who would you call as your next witness?
The state will call Dana Hood.
Who?
Dana Hood.
Dana Hood. Somebody, get Dana Hood.
May I proceed?
You may.
Tell the jury who you are.
My name is Dana Hood, and I'm the office manager of Family Time Cleaners.
Okay. Back in 2022, was that cleaners, RNS cleaners?
Yes, it was.
All right. So when did the name change?
I believe it was April of 23.
And that microphone is far away from you.
But so,
If you don't mind, is that okay?
it's fine.
All right. So when did the name change from RNS cleaners to, what did you say?
Family Time Cleaners.
Okay, Family
I believe
Time
it was April of 23.
But back in July of 2022, it was RNS cleaners, correct? All right. And what is RS cleaners
A dry cleaning business
in Grenada?
in Grenada.
What is the address?
1793 Commerce Street,
1793 Commerce.
Commerce Street, Grenada.
All right. Now, what do y'all do?
We launder clothes and all kinds of items.
Is it like dry cleaning?
Dry cleaning, yes.
Now, back in October of this year, did law enforcement come looking for a video that was provided by RNS cleaners back in 2022?
Yes, they came and
Did you review that video at the time?
I did.
And did you provide a certificate of authenticity to that video?
I did.
All right. Now then, if I can have this marked for ID.
If it's 45.
All right, I'm going to hand you what's been marked for ID as Exhibit 45. Have you reviewed the contents of that? Is that the same video that back in October when you authenticated it accurately depict what you authenticated back in October?
Yes.
All right. And did you review that exhibit this morning?
I did.
And verify that it was the same video?
I did.
All right. Now then, when you did that, you signed and dated it, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Now, can you tell the jury whether you reviewed the timestamp and date of that
I did.
video.
It was correct.
Was that accurate?
It was accurate.
Can you tell the jury how you determined that it was accurate?
It's on the camera footage, it's time-stamped, and on the receipt that we printed out when the customer brought the clothes in is also time-stamped.
They were consistent. Did you look to see whether there had been any issues with the receipt system and the surveillance system? Whether
There
they
were no issues.
No issues with it whatsoever? And the system that you have now, is it the same?
It is.
And is it accurate today?
It is.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask that that be received into evidence.
No objection,
All right.
other than the ones previously
All
stated.
right, it'll be S-45 will be admitted.
Court's indulgence. The receipt that you used to verify the accuracy of the video surveillance, do you have that with you today?
I do. She has it.
I've got a copy of it.
You've got a copy of it?
That's going to be used.
All right.
Got another one coming there behind you if you need it.
Let's have this marked for ID. Well,
That's why I have it. Let's put this. You gonna do it as a collective?
Kurt, you climb up on the ladder and fix our window shades last night. They look really good this morning anyway. I just want you to know that, here, I'm glad to have that in the courtroom anyway. You've done a really good job, and I'm going to commend you on it.
Yes, I mean, you want to do all these pages?
yes, sir. Collective. It's the entire,
In a lot of pages, I'm gonna number the pages, it's, I did yesterday.
What'd y'all eat last night? Well, you tell us too, if you want to. I guess a better question, rather than the old audit, where did yours get sent to eat last night? Y'all turn out okay? Y'all may volunteer to do your duty here. I'll put the bet on it. Y'all coming along here, guys?
Right there.
Creekmore, while you're standing there looking at yourself, how about playing this, Mr. Creekmore? Could you pass this down to Kathy so it won't get lost? Thank you.
while he's reviewing that, Ms.
For
I'm
the
sorry.
record, I marked on the bottom down there the pages so we don't have any confusion on the exhibit. He's going to
marked as the next number item.
It is, that's what's gonna be the next numbered exhibit. It hadn't been marked at this time, has it?
Ma'am,
It hadn't been ID'd at this time, has it?
it has not.
Mr. Creekmore, you're gonna be asking this document to be marked.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
This document here, you can ask it to be marked.
Yes, Your Honor.
Let's go ahead and get that on the road then. That's gonna be S46.
No, that's why I needed her up here today.
Are y'all looking at, the jury's looking at this, well, this has been introduced into evidence, I guess, but, it's been displayed, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, the video being displayed has
It's already been
received.
received.
Okay, just making sure.
Mark it, receive.
It has, set 45 has been admitted anyway.
You got this one received. All right, Ms. Hood, if you'll look on your screen, do you see the image displayed? Is that from your business
Yes,
there
it
in
is.
Grenada? And you were able to identify the date, 7/8/22, 9/29/40, is that AM?
AM, yes.
AM? And you were able to determine that that was correct time?
That's
and
right.
date. All right. Now then, I would ask that Exhibit 46 be received into evidence.
No problem.
All right.
8 pages, I think, Mr. Creekmore. Make sure.
Somebody tell me what that is. I'm gonna receive it, so I'll make my notes here.
It's the invoice records from the transaction,
Invoice records from the cleaners.
Tim Herrington.
Okay.
It is.
Seven pages. Mr. Horan.
Seven.
All right. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 46. Do you recognize that as transaction records from transaction from that day at your cleaners?
That's correct.
All right. That's not the original receipt, though, is it?
No, this is just a copy from,
But you printed that out recently?
I did.
And it has the new name of the business at the top?
that's right,
But it's the same system,
same system.
okay? And you still had those records from this transaction on July 8th, 2022?
This is the actual transaction from July 8th, 2022.
Okay. And can you state that that's, the time on that receipt is consistent with this video?
Yes.
Court's involved. Ms. Hood, other than law enforcement coming to request any records from any transactions from July 8th, 2022, has anybody else asked you about those records from that day?
No,
Okay. Has anybody come to you and asked you for records from that transaction? Or about that
actually,
transaction?
I received a phone call from Mr. Herrington asking for a copy of the receipt. Okay. I received a phone call from Mr. Harrington asking for a copy of the receipt.
Okay.
And so I left it at the front so he could pick it up, this exact receipt, well, copy of the receipt.
Okay.
And then the next day, his mother came in and wanted a copy of the receipt. So I gave her the exact same thing. And she said, well, I was hoping it would be more detailed and show that it was a suit. And I explained to her that this is all we could produce, and that's all the computer would do.
Did she ask you to alter or change it?
No,
Okay. Tender the witness, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am, sure. That's a active account, though, at that time. It's not, that wasn't just a unique, that, Timmy Herrington had an account there.
He did.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
This witness be finally excused? Thank you for being here, Mr. Wood. You're free to go.
Thank
You're welcome
you.
to stay with us. I'm going to choose not to, but you're welcome to if you like, or you can go to your day. You have a good, safe trip home, okay? Who would you call this next week? Everybody good over there?
Christopher Klink.
Christopher Klink.
Christopher Klink. K-L-I-N-C-K.
Come around, Mr. Klink. Put the face the court reporter there. Raise your right hand and be sworn in, please. Right.
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony about to give this call to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, come right around here and have a seat in the witness chair there.
Just be on standby.
Okay.
May I proceed?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Tell the jury who you are.
Thomas Christopher Klink,
All right, and where do you live, Mr. Klink?
140 Broadmeadow Drive, Grenada, Mississippi.
All right, now where you live across the street, your neighbor who lives directly across from you,
The Herringtons,
okay? Now, do you know Tim Herrington?
yes.
Did you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is it, living across the street, when you say the Harringtons, are you talking about that's his mother and daddy's house?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did Tim Herrington visit there frequently in the summer of 2022?
Yes,
Okay. Did you know who, you've already stated you know who Tim Herrington is, but if you saw him, you would recognize him, correct?
yes,
All right. Now, does your home have a video surveillance system?
yes,
All right. And back in July of 2022, did you have a home video surveillance system?
yes.
All right. Now, where is that camera oriented? What kind of angle or picture would it be designed or placed to get? What is the view of that camera?
The front of our house,
All right. Does it capture the yard and driveway to a certain extent of the Herrington home?
a little bit to a certain extent.
All right. Now, back in July of 2022, was the date correct on your system?
I believe so.
All right. And what about the timing?
It was off.
Okay.
Your
Now,
Honor, I know we're headed with this, but I just want to make sure, I think I procedurally have to object on the relevance of every witness.
I understand. You understand the objection, in relation to the prior objection the court has ruled on. This, you note you have a continued objection, it's all, it's not objection.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 47 for ID. Do you recognize the image depicted in that exhibit?
Yes.
How do you recognize that?
I'll recognize it by our yard, our driveway, my son's truck.
Do you remember, were you present when that document was created?
Yes.
All right,
No objection to the
all right. Stay would ask to be,
Let's get this marked first, right?
it's marked.
This 47.
Yes, sir. All right. That's 47. I'm going to display it on the screen. You got to change to
Yeah, it should be on there.
document. Kind of a glare on it. All right, is that image being displayed on your screen? All right, Exhibit 47. Now, this first cell phone right here, it's got a date on it of August 5th, 2022. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the image being displayed on that cell phone is from is that a live feed of your video surveillance home security system?
Is that picture a live feed, or is
Was
it
it a live
always?
feed at the time that this was created?
I believe so. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
All right, and whose phone is it on top of? The one that says 650?
I don't recall, honestly.
Was it depicting the current time at the
Yes.
time? Was it depicting the current time at the time that this document was created?
Yes, sir.
Was that time 650 accurate?
Yes, sir.
All right. So was this created to show the time difference
Yes, sir.
in order to arrive at the correct time for your videos, your home surveillance system, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that was done because law enforcement came out to find the correct time for your home surveillance system, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, prior to that, had law enforcement come to your home to gather video footage going back to July 8th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
Did you provide that to law enforcement?
They had a warrant, yes, sir, so I provided it.
They had a search warrant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm going to hand you Exhibit 48. Do you recognize that exhibit?
Yes, sir.
And if you don't mind speaking to that, Mark.
Yes, sir.
All right. And did you examine the contents of that exhibit?
Yes,
Did they accurately depict what you provided law enforcement in 2022 pursuant to that search warrant for your home surveillance system?
yes.
All right. Your Honor, I would ask that this be received.
All right, that's gonna be S-48. Is that correct?
Yes.
You need
All right, if you'll just pull up that first clip. It's going to- Now, on that exhibit, were there 8 different times that files were created? Approximately?
Approximately,
There was more than one, correct?
yes,
More than 5?
yes.
Less than 10?
If these are them right here, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 9, yes.
And we're just going to take them one at a time. We're going to display a still shot and just see if you recognize it, okay?
Okay.
Go to 9/26/47. Huh? His face. Yeah, I'm watching. You can pause it. All right. Looking at that, that particular spot on that video surveillance, the time stamp right there is 9/26/46. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
In order for you to arrive at the correct time, you would have to make a calculation based on this exhibit in 47, correct?
Yes,
To get the accurate time.
correct.
Okay. But the date, July 8th, 2022, that's accurate.
I believe so.
Was it accurate then? The date?
I'm pretty sure it is.
I'm going to ask you to look at Exhibit 47. Is that
Okay.
the exact difference between your live feed of your home video surveillance and the current time, at the time this exhibit was created?
Yes, sir.
So if you take that difference and apply it to here, would that date on that exhibit be July 8th, 2022?
Yes,
Is that true with all the other clips as well?
yes,
And you've reviewed every clip on this exhibit, correct?
Before I came in, I think we reviewed most of them. I don't know if I reviewed every
We'll
one
go
of them.
through each one. Let's go to the second one. It's no time. All right, if you pause it. Now, this second clip, do you see how it's been zoomed in? And
Yes.
it doesn't have a date or time, does it?
No.
All right. But do you recognize the front yard there in the bottom right portion of the image that's being displayed on the second video file?
Yes.
Whose yard is that?
The Herringtons.
And do you see that box truck across the street?
Yes.
All right. Is that parked in the, on the curb by the front yard of the Herrington home?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to the third clip. I think that one's drilled down too. Yeah. All right. Do we have a date? I mean, all right, pause. Same question. You recognize that front yard, the driveway, the truck? Whose truck is that? The white truck parked in in the driveway.
That's my son's truck.
Okay. All right. And that too is on July 8th, 2022.
Yes.
And you would have to make the same adjustment to arrive at the correct time based on Exhibit 47. And I submit to you that on that, looking at Exhibit 47, your home surveillance system image being projected, it says 542, does it not?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And the phone underneath it says 650, correct?
Yes.
All right, so that's going to be a difference of basically an hour and 8 minutes.
Yes.
So looking back at the time frame on exhibit, the third file on Exhibit 48, you'd have to adjust that by an hour and 8 minutes to arrive at the correct time. But the date, 7/8/2022 is correct.
Yes.
All right, let's go to 4. And 9:38. All right. Same question. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
Did you provide this image to law enforcement pursuant to the search warrant?
Yes.
And the date on that is correct and accurate? And the time would have to be adjusted based on the differential in Exhibit 47, correct?
Correct.
All right. Let's go to the 5th clip. Let's go to 6:32. All right. Looking at the image on the 5th clip, your system says 7/8/2022. Is that accurate?
Yes.
All right. And then over there it says 1832. Is that military time
Yes.
on your home surveillance system? All right. But you would have to make the adjustment to arrive at the correct time based on the differential in Exhibit 47.
Yes.
Correct? All right. And does that accurately depict what you provided to law enforcement pursuant to the search warrant?
Yes.
All right. Let's go to clip, the 6th clip. Let's go to 1927. All right, pause. All right, looking at the date on the image being depicted from the 6th clip, the date on that, July 8th, 2022, is that accurate?
Yes.
All right, the time over here is 1927. To arrive at the accurate time on that clip, you would have to make the adjustment based on the differential in Exhibit 47, correct?
Correct.
And does that accurately depict the video you provided to law enforcement pursuant to the search warrant?
Yes.
All right. Just got a clip, so. Got 8, 17. I think it's down here. All right. Now, looking at the image projected on your screen on the 7th clip, the date on there, July 8th, 2022, is that accurate?
Yes.
All right, and the 2018 mark, that's military time based on your home surveillance system, correct?
Correct.
But to arrive at the correct time, you would have to make an adjustment based on the differential in Exhibit 47, correct?
Correct.
All right. The last image on that exhibit pause it right there. Looking at the image projected on your screen, the date, July 8th, 2022, is that accurate?
Yes.
All right, and the time, 13:59, military time. So it would be, I guess, saying, was that 1 o'clock? 1:59? But to arrive at the correct time, you would have to make an adjustment based on the differential in Exhibit 47, correct?
Correct.
And does that accurately depict a video surveillance file that you provided to law enforcement from your home video surveillance system pursuant to the search warrant?
Yes.
Court's indulgence. All right. Thank you, Jerry. Yes, sir. All right. Now, you stated that you know the Herringtons, correct?
Yes.
All right. In fact, don't you work for the Herringtons?
I work for Grenada School District.
Is Miss Herrington your boss?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay. Is it fair to say they're a well-known family in Grenada?
Yes.
All right. Tender the witness, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Clean, so we're perfectly clear, when they came to your house and got the video surveillance off of that's basically a ring camera, correct? Is it a fair statement that from the first time stamp that counsel for the state identified the earliest time in the morning, they took your entire video of that whole day, even though he provided 5 snippets, they took all of that until the latest date that he's identified in the exhibits. Fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got the entire day, and you've at some point in time viewed that entire video whenever you looked at it and watched it while they were downloading, correct? Back and forth. I know you weren't standing there by it.
Back and forth.
At the time they downloaded it, you started it, watched some of it, viewed it to make sure it was operating correctly, right? All that stuff, correct?
Correct.
All right, would it be a fair statement during a large portion of that video, while the box truck was parked out in front of the Herrington house, there were people riding bikes up and down the street, people walking down the street, things of that nature. Do you remember that?
I can't recall that.
I mean,
to be
but you
honest.
remember y'all had someone working in your yard, and I think your son went outside, was doing some yard work with the individual at your yard, correct?
Yes, I do remember that.
He asked and answered, he said he didn't know, then he started testifying for him.
That's cross-examination, huh?
He's on cross, I'm gonna give him some leeway.
You recall seeing on the videotape, your son out in the yard and the individual in the hat. Who was that? The guy
That
in the
was
hat?
me in the hat.
Okay. And y'all were working?
Work, him,
Yeah.
that's what work on my house.
Yeah, that's right. I just wanted to clear that up. You're in the yard with your son, working, and did you observe on that particular day, people, it's Friday afternoon, or Friday during the course of the day, people up and down the street on that particular day, riding bikes, things like that, and same time that Mr. Herrington came to the house?
Yes.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but Timmy driving that truck, box truck, on any particular day wouldn't necessarily be an unusual event, would it?
No.
Okay. And also, Timmy driving that box truck and loading it up with stuff, whether it be weed eaters and stuff from the house, would not be an unusual event, a wheelbarrow, anything like that. You've seen him do that in the past, haven't you?
Correct.
And are you familiar with the fact that his grandfather and I think maybe his uncle, they rental property in town that Timmy has responsibility of helping take care of and do things along those lines?
Yes.
Okay. And I think he's been doing that for the family there in Grenada, even during his high school years, things of that nature, right? For a
Correct.
long time.
Yes.
Cortland does me for a minute. That's all I have.
Mr. Klink, you seem to know a lot about Tim Herrington. Are you friends with Tim Herrington?
We were neighbors, and we, when he was younger, he would come over to our house some, and we would, I know my kids and he and his sister jumped on our trampoline before, and yes, I would say we're.
You and Tim Herrington are friends.
I mean, I haven't spoken with him much in a long time, but I know when the kids were growing up, you know, we're around each other some.
And tell the jury whether you've actually seen Tim Herrington load up a wheelbarrow into that box truck. Specific memory.
I remember seeing a wheelbarrow being taken to the box truck, but I can't recall if it was loaded in there or not specifically.
Just that one time.
There's been times where they load things on and off, garden equipment, lawnmowers, things like that on trailers and different trucks and
Trailers and different trucks.
and possibly a boxcar before.
A boxcar.
That boxcar or boxcar I've seen at the house before, yes.
You've seen it at the house before. But I'm talking about Tim Herrington loading up a wheelbarrow into that box truck. You've said one time. And that was on that day, correct?
I don't even know if it was Timothy that day.
Okay.
I saw some activity that day. I noticed a person, taking a wheelbarrow to the boxcar, but I'm not sure if indeed it was Timothy or not.
Court's indulgence. Cross-examination, you were very sure about that, and now you're saying you don't even know if it was Tim Herrington, correct?
Very sure about.
Yeah, on cross-examination, you said you were sure that you've seen Tim Herrington load a wheelbarrow onto that box truck. When Mr. Horan was asking you on cross-examination, you said, yeah, I'm sure of it. But now you're saying that you're not even sure if it was Tim Herrington that you saw.
It's a mischaracterization he's talking about on that particular day.
Clarify when you're talking about.
Yeah. You can answer the question.
He asked me if I remember my son working out with me in the yard. He asked me if I remember people going up and down the street. I remember seeing the boxcar. He asked
you if you were certain that you had seen Tim Herrington driving that box truck, and you said yes.
I don't remember him asking me that.
Okay.
If I remember seeing Timothy Herrington driving the boxcar.
Now, you've been reluctant to provide testimony, even you wanted a search warrant rather than cooperating with law enforcement. Let me finish the question. Is that a fair characterization that you've been reluctant to come provide testimony?
Ask the question.
Anybody would be reluctant to be involved in something. There were various reasons why I wanted a search warrant.
I'm not talking about anybody, I'm talking about you. Have you been reluctant to provide testimony, provide evidence in this case that could be relevant if the court decides it is?
It's my right to have a search warrant.
I understand that. I'm just asking if you're reluctant.
to provide any evidence to any law enforcement. I don't want anybody coming into my house, going through my video without a search warrant.
I understand that.
It's not
I'll give you an
reluctance.
opportunity to explain.
Question yes or no, and then you can explain anything.
Is it safe to say that you are reluctant to provide testimony and potential evidence in this case?
Define reluctant, please.
That you don't want to? Because you're,
No,
because of
it's not
some,
that I don't want to.
are you afraid because,
No, I'm not afraid.
are you, do you have any fear of any retaliation against you?
No. None at all.
Any objection? You just brought it last question. All right, this witness be found excused.
Good can.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch, you're free to go. Welcome. What's that here? It's been going about an hour. Y'all want a break, or y'all, how long is your next witness gonna take?
I believe it could be short.
Good, let's get one more short one in if we can, okay?
Hey guys, our internet's a little wonky right now, so if it's choppy, just bear with us. If you get kicked out, just come back in. Audio is good, but video gets choppy, so apologies for that.
Who? Come around, Lisa. All right, come around and have a seat in the witness chair, please. You may proceed.
Mr. Pittman, please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name's Douglas Pittman.
How are you currently? Oh, I apologize. Oh, how are you currently employed? Like, what's your job?
Asset protection associate.
And could you?
I didn't understand it.
Asset protection associate
Where?
at Walmart.
And is that Walmart located here in Oxford, Mississippi?
Yes.
Okay. Back in 2022, did the Oxford Police Department approach you about pulling some surveillance footage?
Yes.
Is that a part of? Well, I'll ask you. What do you do as asset protection?
I catch shoplifters. I research videos for officers and basically take the merchandise.
I don't think. I'm sorry. I don't think she could hear you. Did you say protect merchandise?
Yes.
Okay. And so it is your job to keep up with the Walmart surveillance system?
Yes.
Okay. And so back in 2022, did Oxford Police Department approach you about getting some footage from July 8th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And was that footage for the purchase of a particular product?
Yes.
What was that product?
Duct tape.
Okay. And tell me, if someone asks for something like a particular product like duct tape, how do you even go about finding that footage?
Well, with our system, all we need is an item, a time frame, and maybe the last four of a card number, just something to go off of, and we search in our system for it.
And when you search in the system, once you find it in the system, how do you find what does it give you?
It gives you the time, the registered number, and the item.
Okay, so it gives you the time, the register number, and the item. So here, did Oxford Police Department give you a time frame and a product?
Yes.
Okay, with the time frame, it would be safe to say between 6:30 and 7:15-ish on July 8th, 2022?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to find the purchase of duct tape during that time?
Yes.
Okay. How many purchases of duct tape were made during that time?
It was only one.
So a single purchase?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able to find footage of the register where that duct tape was purchased?
Yes.
Okay. And when you found that footage, did the police find the suspect that they were looking for?
Yes.
They indicated to you that that was Timothy Herrington.
They said that was the suspect they were looking for.
I said that was the suspect they were looking for. All right, and you were able to pull that and provide it to them.
Yes.
And once they did that, or once they found the register footage, were you then also able to follow that person around the store?
Yes.
So on July 8, 2022, you were able to follow the person who bought the single duct tape around the Walmart from 6:30 to 7:15, sometime in there.
Yes.
Okay. And before you came in today, did you have an opportunity to review that footage?
Yes.
Okay.
No objection to the introduction.
All right.
All right.
Go ahead and get marked, if you don't mind.
It's marked for ideas, states it's 1449, I believe,
49.
and it's just been entered into evidence.
S49 will be admitted. And I understand that's a video from Walmart.
And is there a particular, we were talking about this footage. Is there a particular player that it has to be played in?
Yes. Windows Media Legacy Player.
Okay. If you don't play it in Windows Media Legacy Player, what happens?
You either get an error message or the video is not shown correctly.
And so is the time and date stamp on that footage correct?
Yes.
And it's if you play it, and you have to play it in the correct player.
Yes.
And I believe you were saying to me something about Walmart having an encoding system, or explain that.
Yeah, so with our video system, they have a certain encoder that they use so that not everyone can just take our video and use it somewhere else without their permission.
And that's why it has to be played in legacy player,
Yes.
or I guess the within player for it.
Yes.
Okay. I'm handing the witness what has now been marked for ID as State's Exhibit 50. Mr. Pittman, do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the receipt for the purchase of that, the single purchase of that duct tape from July 8th, 2022 at 6:49 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay. And at this time, I've moved to enter into evidence the receipt.
All right, well, that's it, you did need it.
Other than
Previous, you got that now.
Oh, Your Honor, may I publish the jury?
You may.
And Mr. Pittman, is that the receipt that I just showed you?
Yes.
And the time stamp right there, July 8th, 2022 at 6:49:07?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be the accurate time of that day?
Yes.
Okay. Brief indulgence. No further questions, Your Honor.
False nomination. Yes, you can be found excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Pittman. Okay, have a good day. All right, the next witness gonna be longer? Yes, we do. All right, let's take a short break. Yeah.
All right, guys. So while they're taking a break, I'm going to hop on here. So that was some good testimony there. So we just got finished with Douglas Pittman, who worked at Walmart. And there was a video, which of course we didn't see, of somebody buying duct tape between 6:30 and 7:15. I believe they said around 7:45. Yeah, 7:45. And there was also a receipt. But I want to know, how did that person pay for it? If it was charged, can't they figure out who charged it? Before that, we listened to Thomas Christopher Klink, who was the neighbor, and he lived across the street. And there was video of the box truck, and there was video and still photos of Timothy bringing in at least a shovel for sure. Now, interestingly enough, Klink said that he worked for the Grenada school district, and Mrs. Herrington was somewhat his boss. And the Harringtons are a well-known family. And I'm assuming that's them right there that they're showing. One of them, because they're sitting behind Timothy. They're a well-known family in Grenada. So I still want to find out about this funeral home. I still want to find that out. I know we're on it. We're trying to figure it out. Care Bear, yes, the fire behind us. It's chilly here tonight, guys. What is it tonight? Actually, it's a little bit warmer than it was just 50 degrees. It's going to get down to 40. It was 34 this morning when I woke up. So that was pretty cold, pretty chilly. All right, sorry. So then before that, Dana Hood, who was the office manager at the Family Time Cleaners, and they had changed their name. That was Rainbow Cleaners that we heard earlier. And there was video of Timothy coming in at 9:28. Now, interestingly enough, he asked for the receipt as well as his mom asked for that receipt. So I think that was interesting. Thought that was pretty interesting. What? It may be a nothing burger. I know, but oh my gosh, can you imagine if that comes in? All right, and then first witness of the day was Leslie Christian. She's family crime supervisor for Renaissance Bank. And there was a video of the box truck. First time we heard about the box truck at the ATM on July 8th at 6:55 p.m. So it's all starting to come together now, right? He meaning Timothy, quote unquote, possibly lures Jay away at 6:30. The deed is done. 7:30ish, he's seen running out of Molly Bar Trail Complex. He gets picked up by Keziah around 7:38. He goes back home, and then let's see. And then he buys duct tape. Oh, okay, yeah, he bought duct tape. Let me go to Capri Law's, her timeline. All right, we still haven't gotten. Oh, he was at Walmart looking at trash cans and he buys duct tape. So Capri Law, we didn't see that. Yeah, 6:57. A box truck goes by. We haven't seen that one yet either. We haven't seen that yet. All right, so it is starting to come together. Are you guys feeling a little bit better? Oh, thank you, Spartan. Nana, thank you. Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better about this. You know, it's a lot of circumstantial evidence, but it's not looking good for Mr. Herrington here, in my opinion. How do you guys feel? I'll put a poll up maybe a little bit later. We'll see how we feel at the end of the day. I'll do a poll. Yeah, I think we're going to be done in I thought it was going to be a 4-hour stream. No, it seems like it's going to be done maybe in an hour, less than an hour, I believe. Yeah, so. All right, cool. Do you guys have any questions? Explain the box truck a bit more, please. It was cutting out. Okay, so yeah, so the neighbor, Klink, had a Ring camera or whatever kind of camera, and there was video and still photos showing Timothy putting items into that box truck. Now, the only item really I saw was the shovel, but they said something about a wheelbarrow, but I didn't see that, or they didn't talk about that. So the box truck, he owned a moving company with this guy who's actually coming up next. The moving company Tyson King is coming up next, so we're going to hear from him. So they had met in college and they owned a moving company together. So I think that box truck was from that. Did he rent the box truck? No. Spartan Nana? No. I think he owned a moving company, so I think that was one of his. If he had more than one, I don't know, but he had that one. Amber Waves of Grain, yeah, he owned it with his buddy. So that's who we're going to hear from next is Tyson King. That's his friend who they met in college, and then they formed a moving company together. The two would hire outside help, and they couldn't do it alone. Yeah. So we're going to hear from Mr. King next. Yeah, we're having internet issues a little bit, guys, so sorry, chat. We're dropping frames. It's our internet. It's Comcast. No, they didn't say anything about DNA. Matter of fact, no DNA witnesses have been called yet, so we'll see if they actually do call. When we're cutting in and out like this, guys, it's our internet is dropping frames, and when we drop frames, that means it's just not sending a solid signal. So it's like buffering. So it's like buffering. So that's why I can see myself just buffering right now. I'm frozen. So sorry, guys. I guess audio might be good, but the video is not. So all right.
You got 10. We won't start without you. All right, show the jury in. Everybody good on the jury? All right, who would the state call as the next witness?
At this time, the state calls Tyson King.
Who's that now?
Tyson King.
Right this way, sir. You would raise your right hand, face forward this lady, be sworn in.
You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about giving this call to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
may proceed.
Mr. King, please introduce yourself to the jury.
Tyson King.
And do you know the defendant, Timothy Herrington?
I do.
And how do you know him?
We met at a camp here at Ole Miss after our junior year of high school, and then we also had a moving company together.
Okay. If you could, you said moving company together. When did you all have that moving company together?
It started right after, well, during the pandemic, so in the summer of 2020.
And when you say a moving company, was that here in Oxford, Mississippi?
It was here in Oxford, Mississippi, but we also did the surrounding areas too.
Okay. So tell me, what sorts of, you said a moving company, like you move people into dorms and businesses. Explain that.
So our moving company, we just move people from either, well, here in Oxford, it would just be from like a one apartment to another apartment. And then if we had anything outside the city, it would be from one location to the next. So just all of their belongings.
And typically, was it you and Timothy who did moves together?
Yes, but we also did hire outside help.
So you and Tim would sometimes hire outside help. Under what situations would you do that?
Typically, if me or Tim wasn't readily available to do the move, we would hire outside help. Or if we had more than, let's say, one, or if we had multiple moves that day, and we know we had a list of them, because we would typically do them. So if we knew that we couldn't do it all by ourselves, we would typically hire somebody.
So, so I understand. Typically, the two of you could do it if you could do it alone. If you could do it alone.
Yes, just depending on the size of the move.
But if you weren't available, or if he wasn't available, you all would hire somebody else so you could still have a two-man job.
Correct.
And then if you had big moves or multiple moves, the two of you would hire a third person.
3 or more, just depending on how big the move.
So I want to go back to July 8th, 2022. Were you in Oxford that day?
I was in Hattiesburg that morning, and I came back to Oxford that afternoon.
And did you and Tim have any moves scheduled that day?
Not.
And usually, did you both know if you had moves scheduled?
Yes.
And who had keys to the box truck?
We both had a key.
So did anyone else have a key?
No.
So just you and Tim had keys?
Yes.
And have you seen that box truck? Where is it now?
I have absolutely no idea.
Who took the box truck from you?
Oxford Police Department,
So the police seized the box truck?
to my knowledge.
Oh, well, did they take it in front of you?
They did,
Okay.
pretty forcibly.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? Mr. King, please look through these photos. I'm handing the witness what's marked as State's Exhibit 51. And do you recognize what those are photos of?
Yes, it's the box truck that we had.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence, State's Exhibit 51, the photos of the box truck of...
Any objection?
Oh, I'm sorry, just pictures of the box.
Pictures box.
Go ahead.
Okay. Had just one picture or multiple pictures?
Four.
4 pictures.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury?
All right, you may. That's composite 51, though, right?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm showing the witness, what's in evidence now states Exhibit 51. Mr. King, can you see that in front of you? Is it showing up?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the photo of your box truck? Is that a photo of your box truck?
It is.
Okay. And this box truck, when you all decided to start a moving company, how did y'all get this box truck?
So we got the box truck. So we had been in business for 3 years at the time, and we got the box truck going into the 3rd year of business. And I think his grandfather found the box truck, and then once we decided that we were going to get it, I'm pretty sure his grandfather paid for it in cash, and I just gave him my half of it.
So Tim Herrington's family was able to find the box truck, and you all split the cost?
Correct.
Okay. And I want to point to a little sort of diamond on the side of the box truck.
Okay.
See that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the distinctive mark of your box truck?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I? Oh, I'm just going to approach the witness. It's marked for identification as, I think, for
No objection.
no objection?
These are all been admitted. Is this a different picture?
This is a different picture.
Okay, go ahead.
Handing the witness what has now been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 52. Mr. King, you recognize that photo from when I showed it to you earlier?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recognize the box truck driving in the photo?
I do.
Okay. That was an accurate representation of your box truck?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I publish to the jury?
Okay.
Mr. King, do you see that date up in the corner of July 8th, 2022?
I do.
And the time at 6:57:41?
Yes.
On July 8th, 2022, at 6:57:41, where were you?
In Hattiesburg.
And, zoom in. When I just had this up there with you, is that the box truck you're referring to as your box truck?
Yes.
And were you driving that box truck on that day?
I was not.
And who was the only other person that had keys?
Timothy Herrington.
And do you see Timothy Herrington sitting in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you describe what he's wearing?
Yeah, I was on a navy blue suit and a red and blue tie with a white shirt.
Stipulated.
All right. Record will so reflect the defendant has been identified by stipulation.
Brief indulgence. Your Honor, I tender the witness.
Cross-examination? Okay.
Morning, Mr. King. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing fine. I want to take you back to the time that you previously testified to around July the 8th. You testified that you were in Hattiesburg. Is that correct?
Correct.
Had you talked to Mr. Herrington that day?
On the 8th? No, I don't believe so.
What about on the 7th?
Yes.
What was the basis of that conversation?
We had done a previous move a couple of days prior, and they left some screws or something with us, and he texted me about the screws to try and return them to the person that we had moved.
Okay. Where were those screws located?
In the box truck.
Okay. And at that point in time, the box truck was parked where?
At the Links?
That's where you live?
Correct.
At the time?
Correct.
Okay.
Where did you say?
The Links is an apartment complex here.
And I believe you testified a moment ago that in regards to the box truck and how y'all acquired it was that Mr. Herrington's grandfather purchased the box truck, correct?
Correct.
And then you reimbursed Mr. Harrington's grandfather for your portion of the box truck.
Correct.
And then you testified that you and Mr. Herrington were only two people that had keys to the box truck.
Correct.
Tell me a little bit about your usage of the box truck. Was this a primary vehicle or a secondary vehicle for you?
Secondary vehicle.
Were there ever any instances in which you relied on the box truck as your primary means of transportation?
I think it was February of 2022. I was in a car accident and I didn't have a car at the time, and I would from time to time use the box truck to get back and forth.
And that's why you were a student at Ole Miss?
Correct.
So from February up until about what time frame was the box truck your primary means of transportation?
I wouldn't say it lasted long. Maybe,
Fair to say a couple months?
I'd say probably like more so a couple weeks to a month.
Okay, and when you were using that box truck as your primary means of transportation, you didn't notify Mr. Herrington every time you got in and out of the box truck to drive around?
I wouldn't say that I did.
Okay, and it's fair to say that Mr. Herrington wanted to use the box truck. He wouldn't have to necessarily notify you every time he used it. Is that a fair statement?
You could say that.
Okay. You testified earlier that when DA's office showed you a picture of the box truck, that it was seized from you pretty forcibly. What do you mean by that?
Objection, Your Honor, to relevance.
I didn't hear the question anyway. It was,
He testified earlier that the box truck was taken from him pretty forcibly. I'm just trying to figure out what he means by that.
I'm gonna let him answer the question.
Do you recall that day when it was taken from you?
I do.
What happened on that day?
I was in the middle of a move and I received a couple of no-caller ID phone calls. And once I answered those phone calls, it was what they told me were that they were detectives at the time. And I was bombarded with questions about where the truck was, and so at the time, I just told them that I wouldn't, have any problems answering any questions that they wanted to, but I wanted to, have a lawyer present. And maybe not even a minute after that phone call, I was surrounded by police. And they just came and took me out the truck, detained me, had me out in broad daylight, about 30, 40 minutes, and that's the last time I saw the truck.
Objection, Your Honor, to relevance.
Not your objection for the record.
Brief indulgence, Your Honor. when you came in contact with law enforcement that day, they interviewed you, correct?
Correct.
Where did that take place?
I'm not sure exactly where it was, but it was like, I'm assuming like where they usually take people to interview them.
Sure. Back to yours and Mr. Harrington's moving business. Were you ever a part of any moves to Grenada or in the Grenada area with Mr. Harrington?
Yes.
And it'd be fair to say that you're familiar with Mr. Harrington's grandfather and his family and their rental properties that they had, correct?
Correct.
It'd be fair to say that if Mr. Harrington came and got the truck, took it to Grenada, were you ever involved in any of those trips other than moving trips?
Yes.
Doing work for his grandfather, things of that nature. You're involved in those things, correct?
Correct.
And there were instances in which you weren't involved. Is that fair to say?
I would assume so.
Okay. Earlier you testified the next, I must have this marked for identification. First witness, Your Honor.
Hey.
Mr. King, I'm going to hand you a document and draw your attention to line 53 over here. And if you'll go over a few columns, do you recognize that phone number right there? Can you identify that number?
I don't know the number.
Well, let me ask you another question. Can you identify the number underneath that one? Right?
Yes, that's my number.
Okay, and what is that phone number?
You want me to say my phone number?
Objection, Your Honor. He says he recognizes the number. I don't believe he should have to say his phone number out.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay. I'm going to draw your attention to...
I would ask it to the record, if you're not going to, don't want to say his phone number, but give some kind of identifier on it anyway, so that the record will be clear as to what number we're talking about anyway.
The last four digits of that number, you recognize those as being your cell phone number, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you recognize that message that was sent to you to that number?
Correct.
Okay. And what does that message say?
It says, Emily need those screws tomorrow.
Okay. And the next entry would be a message from your phone number with those last digits being 6909.
Correct.
And what does that message say?
I left them at Love House. You're going to have to go get them. I'm in Hattiesburg.
And is that referenced in the conversation that previously testified to that you, Mr. Harrington, had on the 7th
Correct.
of July 2022?
Correct.
Brief indulgence, John. Let me ask you this question, Mr. King. In between July 8th and the date in which you were apprehended by Oxford Police Department, interviewed, did you and Mr. Harrington happen to go on, have any moves together?
You said together?
Yeah.
I believe we had one move together between
When
me.
that was?
I wouldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you an exact date, but I believe it was maybe a week before he was arrested.
Okay. So that would have been somewhere in between July the 12th and July the 20th, or excuse me, the 22nd, in that time period.
Yes.
Y'all remember talking about that move?
Talking about the move?
Scheduling it?
Yeah, yeah.
Y'all corresponded with each other about the move during that time frame?
Correct.
Correct. Nothing further, John.
All right. You may cross, you may redirect.
Mr. King, you mentioned that you lived at the Links. If you're, at the time, that's an apartment complex.
Correct.
And it's located here in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it located?
If you're going towards Batesville, I've lived here so long and I still don't know the streets or the highways.
It's sort of like going back towards Batesville.
Yeah, going towards Batesville, yeah.
Okay, and what about in relation to Walmart? Is it close to Walmart?
I would say it's probably like maybe 4 or 5 minutes from Walmart.
And so it's about a 4 to 5 minute trip from the Links to Walmart, right?
Correct.
And at the time of this, before you went to Hattiesburg, the truck was parked at the Links, correct?
Correct.
On cross just now, you testified that you all could go get the truck without each other if you wanted to, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't always tell each other when you were going to get the truck, right?
Can you rephrase that question?
Of course. If you needed the truck, did you always tell Tim Herrington that you needed the truck?
I would say more times than not.
And did he do that for you as well?
I would assume so.
But when it came to moves,
Oh,
did you all tell each other about the moves?
correct.
Okay. So if y'all had a move, you all would inform each other.
Correct.
Is that because you were business partners in this company together, the moving company?
Correct.
The box truck was seized from you. Would it be fair to say July 26th? Does that make it sound good? 2022?
It sounds right.
So, and earlier, you said you've never received it back, right?
I have not.
So between July 8th, which you said you all didn't have a move that day, and July 26th, did you have moves?
Yes.
Did you have multiple moves?
Yes.
And it was, that's the summer, right?
Correct.
So is that one of your busiest seasons?
It is. It's peak moving season.
Brief indulgence. No further questions, Your Honor.
May this witness be finally excused?
Yes, Your Honor, by the same.
Thank you for being here, Mr. King. You're free to go, and you're welcome to stay. Whichever one you like, okay? Everybody good on the jury? All right, who would the state call as the next witness?
Your Honor, could we have just 5 minutes break?
Sure, why not? We've come this far. Let's take a short break, though. Let's make the key short anyway, okay?
Hey guys, gonna jump in here, and all right. So let's just recap what's happened so far. We just heard from Tyson King, who owned a moving company with Timothy. They met in junior high. They started the moving company in the summer of 2020. There was a photo of the truck getting gas at 6:58, and Tyson says he was in Hattiesburg, and Tim was the only one with the keys. So, kind of pointing to him. Now, I didn't like the way the police handled, absconding with the truck there. That was pretty bad. I did not like that at all. Basically, King said he's in the middle of a move, and the cops, he got a bunch of phone calls of no caller ID, and he didn't answer them within like a minute. He was surrounded, and they basically seized his truck. This is his work vehicle. He's in the middle of a move, and that's it. So box trucks, they could be $10,000, $15,000. I mean, I don't know if they spent that much. I think he said that they got some help from his parents. Yeah, I would not be happy if I was him, Do you guys have any questions? Is it, another break. It's a quick break. Any questions? I'll put up, so what's going to happen, it gets a little weird here because this day was not complete, but I was able to find it on one source. But it's, I think we're only going to hear one more testimony, and then we're going to see some body cam footage. But there's like an interrogation too, which I don't think we're going to see. So it's going to get weird here, chap, but at least I'm going to go as far as we can go with what we have. And then they were in court today. They were in session today, and I guess we'll play that Monday. I'm not going to play that tomorrow. We have to take the day off. I want to work on some other things, and meal prep and all that stuff for the week. But I think we have about another hour left. So I'll play what I have. We'll probably be done 8:30. Yeah, we'll probably be done around 8:45 or so, just so you know. All right, I'm going to fast forward. Going to pip squeeze myself down here, and we're going to fast forward. But let me know if you have any questions.
Investigation since the indictment from law enforcement officers, some searches that had taken place, and my understanding was, the court can correct me if I'm wrong.
I told them to tell you what they were and when they were. I told them to tell you what they searched for and when. I told them to tell you what they'd done since then anyway.
That's right. Your Honor, in addition, they did, in fact, Mr. Creekmore gave me in an email, a text of where they searched, the locations. I think there were 2 locations, I believe. One here in Oxford and one down in Grenada. But I thought I was going to get a report or some information on who did those searches and stuff like that. So I did not get any of that. I'm not faulting Mr. Creekmore. He said he gave me what he had, but I'm
going to ask the state to get somebody working on a more detailed,
he has represented to me that there was no evidentiary value resulting from those searches, but
I believe the testimony was at that time that they were continuing to search for a body and hadn't found it.
Right. Body and evidence.
But I would.
I'd just like to have.
I would like somebody from the state to be working on find out what agency has performed searches, where they were searching for, and where they were searching at, and what they were searching for, and what if anything's been found.
And if I don't think they've done anything else other than those two things, according to Mr. Creek.
I'm going to direct that be done. Okay. Before we bring the jury in, I think it's going to. I don't know who the next witness is, but sometime probably today or tomorrow, there's going to be, I suspect, law enforcement witnesses that we took up late at the jury had been released yesterday about the procedure when the defense was cross-examining those witnesses, particularly about crime lab submissions and the returns from those submissions, and generally what was not found instead of what was found. And when I sat out there and set up here, it was judges handled it different. About once I'm going to allow you to cross-examine the witnesses about what was and was not found based on a crime lab report, but whether ultimately that crime lab report will be able to be admitted into evidence to go back to the jury or not. Judges handle it both ways back when I was out there and stood up here, and I'd like to know what the right answer is. So if y'all won't get somebody spinning the wheel trying to figure out the correct answer to that question, I would like to know that answer anyway. All right. Who would the state? Let's go. Everybody ready? If everybody's ready, show the jury in. I do know that it's 11:32. Time has gotten away from me this morning. I didn't realize it's that late. How long a witness you got, Mr. Creekmore?
We'll have to take a break during his testimony.
All right, we'll go till somebody rings the lunch bell. Whenever lunch gets delivered, let us know, and we'll take a break shortly thereafter. I don't want y'all eating cold beans if you haven't eaten beans for lunch. We want these to be hot. Who would you call your next witness?
Shane Fortner.
Shane Fortner. Somebody bring Mr. Fortner.
May proceed. Tell us who you are.
I'm Shane Fortner,
All right. What do you do?
the Emergency Management Director for the City of Oxford.
All right. What is that? What are your duties and responsibilities?
Duties and responsibility are to keep up with anything weather-related, respond to any natural disasters or man-made disasters in the City of Oxford.
All right. How long you been doing that?
A little over 2 years.
Okay. Prior to that position, what were you doing?
I was the lieutenant for the Oxford Police Department Criminal Investigation Division.
All right. Back in July of 2022, what was your title with Oxford Police Department?
Lieutenant.
All right. So how long were you lieutenant?
Between a year and 2 years, I'm not sure exactly how long.
About 2 years?
Yes, sir.
And just tell the jury what your duties and responsibilities as lieutenant at OPD entail.
So my role was to supervise the criminal investigation division, manage the budget for that division, also the personnel, and any active investigations that would go on, I would be involved with.
All right. I want to direct your attention to July of 2022.
Okay.
When did you first become aware of a missing person involving Jay Lee?
I was first advised of this on July 10th. I became aware of Mr. Jimmy J. Lee missing from the University Police Department, or from Ole Miss, and it was an investigation by the University Police Department.
Okay. And how would you have been made aware?
I don't remember exactly how I was made aware, but after I reached out to Captain Jane Mahan with the University Police Department and offered any assistance they may need.
All right. Was she over that part of the UPD's investigation?
Yes, at that time, I believe she was the captain over investigations.
All right. So you reached out to her and offered any assistance, resources from OPD.
Yes, sir.
What happened after that?
So later on that day, I reached back out to her just to see if they still needed assistance. She had then informed me that they believed the student was off campus. So at that point in time, we discussed OPD getting involved. So I reached out to Detective Ryan Baker and Detective Mike Burks and asked them to respond to the University Police Department to meet with their investigations and get a brief on the case.
All right. They got briefed by UPD. They report back to you?
Yes, sir. I went to the Criminal Investigation Division that night and waited for Oxford Police Department and waited on them to return, and they briefed me once they returned on what they found out.
Okay. All right. So July 10th, you're notified. What happened the next day? You sent the two investigators over there, Mike Burks and Ryan Baker?
Yes, sir. So the next day, July 11th, Oxford PD and University PD investigators met at the Oxford Police Department Criminal Investigation Division at 10 Industrial Park Drive, and both departments briefed on the case.
All right. Now, what was going on with you at that time?
At that time, I actually, on the 10th, had started becoming sick, so I did not go to engage with anybody. Tried to stay away on the 11th while they actually briefed out in the bullpen area. I stayed in my office not to pass on any sickness I may have.
Thought you might be contagious, so you limited your contact?
Say it one more time, sir.
You thought you might be contagious, so you limited your contact with the
Absolutely.
investigators. But that was between UPD and OPD?
Yes, sir.
All right. And at the time, they knew that Jay Lee was missing, and had they gathered the footage from Campus Walk Apartments where Jay Lee lived?
Yes, sir. I believe they had.
All right. So you were aware that they knew that he had left the apartment in the early morning hours of July 8th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Do you know approximately what time that was that showed Jay Lee leaving the apartment? And I represent to you that it's already in evidence.
I don't know the exact time. I do know he comes back to his apartment, from what I recall, and then he leaves. I'm not sure of the exact times, no, sir.
Approximately 5:58 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Does that sound about right?
That would sound about right.
Okay. Yeah, I like that there. That's fine. All right. What happened after that?
Later on July 11th, I went to seek medical treatment to see what was wrong. Ended up coming down with the flu and had to leave, take leave of absence.
Leave of absence. You were out of commission for several days.
Yeah, the rest of that week, yes, sir.
The rest of that week, were you still being updated on any developments?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right. And then when you reported back for duty, what happened personally for you?
So when I returned back on July 20th to the Oxford Police Department Criminal Investigation Division and was updated on the case, and then more development started to occur at that time.
All right. So when you reported back, what happened?
So on July 20th, detectives were able to get into the Snapchat information for Jay Lee and recover that data, and were able to view messages between Jay Lee and a Red Eye _24.
Okay. Now, when you say investigators, we've heard testimony from Ben Douglas. Was he working with your investigator, Ryan Baker, on that social media and the access that they had through the university's passwords for Jay Lee?
Yes, he was. Both of them were actively working on this.
All right. Were you aware that Ben Douglas had actually gained access to Jay Lee's personal accounts?
Yes, sir, I was.
All right. And that they were able to see some messages coming in on his Snapchat that came from a Red Eye _24.
Yes, sir. For one, I recall they were able to see the messages coming in from Red Eye _24, but they were not able to see the messages that Jay Lee had sent.
And that was on July the 20th?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other developments that day?
No, sir, none that I recall.
All right. What happened after that?
July 21st, we were able to determine that Red Eye _24 was in fact a male identified as Timothy Herrington.
And if you could just briefly describe to the jury your understanding of how they identified the account of Red Eye _24 as Tim Herrington.
So from my recollection, they were able to go through Google accounts and different variations of that to actually get back that Red Eye _24 was Tim Herrington. As far as the full process of how they did each step, I don't know how exact each step goes.
All right, so within that, the conversations that they were observing in Jay Lee's Snapchat, what was the information contained in those messages significant?
It was because, as I stated previously, we could see what Red Eye _24 was sending. We didn't know what Jay Lee was sending, but what Red Eye was sending to Jay Lee was, in fact, asking this individual to come over.
All right, so were you aware during that time frame of July 8th to this point in time of July 22nd that UPD had sent out on social media publicly asking for information concerning Jay Lee?
Yes.
All right. Were you aware at that time, July 22nd, that Khalid Fears had responded to that public request for information regarding Jay Lee?
Yes, sir. I was, in fact, aware that Khalid Fears had called in and talked to the University Police Department.
And if you could tell the jury why it was significant, the information that he provided in that tip to the information you saw in that Red Eye conversation on Jay Lee's Snapchat.
Yes, sir. So the information that Khalid Fears provided officers was that he was speaking.
It's already been gone through twice already. He didn't obtain this, and he'll just summarize that he provided that information. I don't want to get involved in a situation where we'll have 2 or 3 different versions of what occurred.
I'm gonna let him, let the state have some leeway in bringing us up to speed on where we were on everything. So I'm gonna deny objection just at this time. The floor is open if you want, if that we get too far, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just briefly describe for the jury the significance of those 2 pieces of information, the tip from Khalid Fears and the Red Eye messages that were on Jay Lee's Snapchat?
Yes, sir. So Mr. Fears reached out and he was stated that he had was speaking with Jay Lee over the phone the morning of the 8th, and he was going back to see someone that he had previously been in going back to see someone he had previously met earlier. And so also Mr. Fears made mention that they were in some type of argument, and Mr. Fears knew that when he was talking to Jay Lee, that he got into his car and drove to a location. He just did not know where that location was.
All right. So the timing of the messages on Red Eye Snapchat consistent with the timing of the call to Khalid Fears?
Yes, sir, they were.
And did you see the footage as part of your investigation of Jay Lee leaving his apartment?
Yes, sir. He leaves Campus Walk and drives off. Where his final destination was, we were not aware.
Do you recall whether he had his phone with him and it appeared to be interacting with his phone on that video surveillance from Campus Walk?
Yes. As he's leaving, it appears that he's in a conversation with someone.
And was that time frame consistent with Khalid Fears and the Red Eye Snapchat messages?
Yes, sir.
Time-wise?
Yes, sir.
Early morning hours of July 8th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So after the significant, the break of identifying Red Eye _24 as Tim Herrington, what happened after that?
So officers were able to see, that a male running out of Mollybar Trails on July 21st, and that same male we got video from Rockets, that same male coming down Mollybar from the hill, and that same male getting into a white vehicle.
All right. Why? You're back from being sick. Why were investigators with the Oxford Police Department looking at video footage from Mollybar Trails?
So they were looking at video footage from Mollybar Trails because Jay Lee's car enters the complex. So they were reviewing footage to see if they see anything that would give them a lead in the next step.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of your response.
Yes, sir.
What did you say?
We were looking at video of Mollybar Trails because Jimmy J. Lee's car went into Mollybar Trails. So we were reviewing footage after that car went into Mollybar Trails to determine.
How did you know Jay Lee's car was at Mollybar Trails?
Because we see video of it entering the
Now,
complex.
before that, before you had video, I think early on,
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, it's his witness. Leave him on this.
I don't think he's leading him out. He's just rephrasing his question. Go
Prior,
ahead.
thank you, Your Honor. Prior to having video footage of Jay Lee's car, how did OPD know that Jay Lee's car was at Mollybar Trails?
Because we were informed that it was towed by Bandit Towing from Mollybar Trails.
All right. And what day was it towed?
I don't exactly know the exact date, but let me refer to my notes, see if I can find it.
Your Honor, for the record, I don't have objection to that testimony. I thought it was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to hand you what's already been received into evidence. Have you ever seen that exhibit 13? Is that 13? Exhibit 13. Have you seen that before?
Yes, sir, I have.
And is that the receipt from Bandit Towing where they towed the J. Lee's vehicle?
Yes, sir, Bandit Towing's right here in the top left corner notated.
All right. And the date on that?
The date on this is July the 8th, 2022 at 1:50 p.m.
Okay. So, you know J. Lee's car is there. The footage that Oxford Police Department was looking at Molly Bar Trails was from what date?
July the 8th.
Okay. All right. So, OPD is gathered all that footage and is looking through that. About how long did your investigators look through footage from Molly Bar Trails?
I don't know the exact.
July 8th, 2022.
From July 8th, 2022?
The footage from July 8th, 2022 at Molly Bar Trails.
So they reviewed the footage, and after the car comes in, they reviewed the footage, and then approximately 9 minutes later, an individual seen running out of Molly Bar Trails.
Okay. Was that significant?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Was it significant? Because of its significance, what did y'all do?
We watched the male as he got to Molly Bar Road, and then were able to determine that he turned right on Molly Bar Road, and then knowing that Rocket's gas station was down from there, we went down there and retrieved video footage.
All right. And from that footage, what did you observe?
We observed that same individual come through the intersection of Molly Bar Road and McElroy Road. He goes past the gas station behind what appears to be an 18-wheeler trailer, and then a white car that was going the same direction pulled into the gas station. That individual that was seen running out of Molly Bar Trails and down Molly Bar Road then gets into that white vehicle.
All right. What did you do after you identified that white vehicle?
So,
how did you identify that white vehicle?
So we looked at the car, zoomed in, tried to see if we found any descriptors on the car. The University Police Department was actually able to find that car later on. They're able to locate that car on July 22nd.
Okay. How did they locate that car?
It was parked at, they located it through, once they found the description of the car, they located a similar vehicle at Campus Walk.
Okay. All right. Did you say that it had a university sticker on it?
It had a Ole Miss tag and a university student decal on it.
All right. And were y'all able to find sufficient information from that?
We were able to match up the car from Rocket's video to the car that was seen in Campus Walk. At that point in time, we took the tag number of that car and put it in our report management system, and were able to identify that a traffic stop had occurred with that car on July 8th, shortly after the male seen him running out of Molly Bar Trails gets into that white car. And so we went into the Oxford Police Department Axon evidence viewer to see the body cam footage of the officer that made that traffic stop. Once we reviewed the footage of that traffic stop, we were able to identify the driver as Keziah Carter, and the same male seen running out of Molly Bar Trails, running down Molly Bar Road that gets into that white car was seen in the passenger seat of that vehicle.
All right. So after that point, y'all were looking for Keziah Carter.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe for the jury how y'all were looking for Keziah Carter, and did you find him?
Yes, sir, we did. We were able to locate Keziah Carter. Once we located him, we brought him down to the Criminal Investigation Division, where he spoke to myself and Detective Baker. Keziah Carter, we showed him footage and asked him about, who the individual was that he picked up, and he identified that individual as Tim Herrington.
All right. So the day before, you had connected Red Eye _24 to Tim Herrington?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then how long was it from then until Keziah Carter, you're interviewing him, and he says the individual that was in the passenger seat with me was Tim Herrington?
It was the very next day.
All right, do you know how many hours that was?
I don't know the actual hours. I would approximately put it in between 15 and 20 hours.
Okay. Now, at the time that you had connected red-eye_24 with Tim Herrington, had you made a decision to go speak to Tim Herrington?
No, sir.
All right. But then after Keziah Carter identifies the person in that vehicle with him that we see on the Rockets video, what did you decide to do?
It was time to talk to Tim Herrington.
Your Honor, may we approach?
All right, chat. This is where it kind of gets a little wonky with this feed. So I'm going to play. The only thing I have after this is body cam footage. I think they take lunch right now, but they do come back. Let's see. Yeah, they come back after lunch. The judge ruled that any statements Timothy Harry made to officers before being placed in handcuffs are admissible, as well as anything officers discovered through Harrington's phone after he voluntarily gave it to officers. Now, this is what we missed, so I'm just going to read you a little recap here. I'll just go big here. Okay. So Shane Fortner continued by recapping his testimony that a man later identified as Timothy Herring running from Molly Bar Trail's apartment was picked up by former witness and taken to Lafayette Place Apartments. A search warrant for Harrington's apartment at Lafayette Place was then obtained. Fortner and another detective then went to speak to Herrington. Fortner said that at the time, detectives still may not have executed the search warrant. For instance, if Herrington provided information about Lee's whereabouts or if Lee was at the apartment, the search warrant would not have been carried out. So the prosecution then played body cam footage of detectives interviewing Timothy Herrington. All right, so that's what I'm going to play. So we just missed a little bit, not much. Yeah, it was like 10 minutes worth of testimony. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. Okay. And let me just address chat. Just, guys, we're all on the same team here, so if somebody rubs you the wrong way, just take a deep breath. You know, we're not here to fight, okay? Just don't argue with each other, please. We built this channel based on kindness, courtesy, loving each other. So if you rub somebody the wrong way, just take a moment and just, let's just stay focused, okay? I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, I'm going to play this body cam footage now. Oh, something's going on with the cats in the other room. Telling you, between Chat and these cats. All right. Bear with me for a moment. If you guys have any questions, oh, there goes Super Ball. Everybody's in a feisty mood tonight. Let's see. Yeah, I know. Did you guys hear that? Super Ball is voicing her opinion. Great. My audio wasn't on. You missed Super Ball. She just meowed into the, I think she turned it off. All right, I got body cam footage, and there's closed captioning. So here we go, guys.
All right, thank you.
All right, where are you right there?
In front of Timothy Herrington's apartment.
All right, you knocked on the door? All right, announced your presence?
Yes.
All right. Now, you've already detailed sort of your background understanding of what your investigation showed.
Yes, sir.
At this point, does Tim Herrington know what you know about the case?
He doesn't know what I know about the case now.
So what we're doing is we're going around and talking to anybody that they contacted them, and we got some records back on there and stuff like that. This is just contact. Yes, sir. I wish I was playing it more.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Can you identify the person in the dark colored muscle shirt?
Yes, that's Tim Herrington.
All right, and then the other person in that image is who?
Myself.
All right, now it appears that this is being recorded by a body cam?
Yes, sir.
And who's wearing that body cam?
Detective Ryan Baker.
You got that one? Yes, sir. How do you know that? That's right. I got it. How about you?
All right. I just want to inquire from the court, is that audio,
Not the best.
are you able to hear that?
I can, but more post question, can the jury hear it anyway? Y'all hear it?
We good?
It's a little muffled, I guess, would be a good way to.
I do believe the audio system here is better. So if it becomes a problem, if the court wants to allow.
You listening, I'm gonna let you make your own decisions about where you play it anyway, okay? What's that now?
This one screen's not working.
We got one screen that's not working. let's try to get that going before we continue. We got one screen that's not working anyway. Working now? Well, that's all we're worried about now. All right, thank you. I'm going to let you make your own decisions about where you wish to play it in, okay?
So you're going in the, did you identify why you were there, the purpose for talking to Tim Herrington?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
We wanted to see if Tim Herrington could provide us with any information related to the Jaylee.
Missing person?
Yes.
And had you been doing that in the area?
Oh, yes. We've been around the city talking in different apartment complexes and
I would say we were like best friends, or we were like, Yeah, you got that? No, sir, I haven't heard anything. No, it's been I know, like, since he's been gone out there. So, before he got
All right. At that point, at 4:38, was that statement from Tim Herrington important to you?
it was.
What did he say?
He said he ain't seen him since he's been gone.
All right. Since he's been gone. Okay. And before he said, since he's been gone, what did he say?
So you ask your question again?
What did he say right before that?
I do not recall, sir.
All right, let's back it up. Just a few seconds.
No, sir, I haven't heard anything. No, it's been a minute. I know, like, since he's been gone out there.
Since he's been gone, I haven't heard anything.
Yes.
All right.
Before he got when's the last time we got there? That night,
All right. Had you, at this point, told him anything about a date that Jaylee went missing?
No, he just, no dates.
And so right there, just before 4:44, I'm going to replay that. His statement there about since he's been gone and at this point, does that indicate to you that he knows when he went missing?
I abstain the objection.
I know, like, since he's been gone out there. So, before he got when's the last time we got there? That night, I'm not sure when it was, but it was like.
He wasn't sure of the date, according to him, at that time, but he did say that night.
That night, he specified that night.
I'll sustain the objection. Don't leave your witness.
Was he sure about the exact date here on the interview, according to him?
He said that night.
Okay.
I would say, so we stole, I'm not sure exactly. We stole that here. Now, we were, at least he came by his car. And you're right now, the people are talking, they're still people on something, or old friends, other people in class. So you're actually the first one that's saying about someone. Yeah, I did see him. So, like, he came over by, so we were cool. So, like, we were just chilling. Like, he came by his side, like, we were just chilling. So, like, we were back to his road. 8, 9, 10. I want to say wrong thing, but it was not. You ain't say wrong thing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're trying to narrow it down and stuff like that to find that. Right? So, something over here. I'm sorry, you're saying, that ain't over here. Yeah, he should have confirmed. Like, he stopped by, he talking about it. No, he's fine. I came outside. He wouldn't tell him. We just, we talking and, man, he just said, he regressed. I was here about town. So, I'm here in 2030 stand. We just talking, so we just talking, because I'm here in the so I'm I'm that's a very good role, and so I have a job there. That's why so this I'm in the process of moving. Yes, sir, you know. How long was it here? Come back, go over there, see? No, I just stand around there. I saw him and that's why I was like, well, I didn't think, I didn't like really believe it when I first saw it. I was like,
All right, I'm going to stop it there. What he's talking about is that night. And that's going to be when the day that Jay Lee went missing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Had he said anything to you at this point about...
I'm gonna let him ask his question. Go ahead.
At this point, had Tim Herrington said anything about an early morning encounter with Jay Lee?
No, sir. All he kept saying was that night.
That night. Had Tim Herrington said anything about having Snapchat messages with Jay Lee in the early morning hours?
No, sir, he did not.
But I think it's still moving. Like, my stuff and like that. Did you get calls and all our trails? Yes, I did. Yeah. Have you had any theories that you don't have all our trails? I personally don't. Like I said, like, we were cool, but it wasn't like I didn't cause it practically. Like, Jay was coming by, he was a private person. Well, when we figured out some of the things he did, it sounded like, we don't like to be dressed as a thing. Right, yeah.
All right. Now, right there, what information had you provided that you knew about your investigation?
That the vehicle had been found at Molly Bar Trails, and Mr. Jay Lee liked to dress as a female.
Okay. So going back to the car, what was the question that you asked?
Did he have any gut feeling on how that car ended up at Molly Bar Trails?
And his response was what?
No.
And he would oftentimes say with the mail and stuff like that.
All right. And even though he said no, he doesn't have any idea, what did you know about Tim Herrington and Molly Bar Trails?
I knew that Tim Herrington ran out of Molly Bar Trails the morning of the 8th and went down to Rockets and got picked up by Josiah Carter and taken back. So I knew Tim Herrington was at Molly Bar Trails.
Okay.
So I would ask everybody. Yeah. Yeah, we were just cool, like me, I was listening to me. It's like, I see everybody say, like, everybody, like, thanks for liking me. Cool person. So I can relate to a lot. I can relate to like everybody. Yeah, that's just the first time I got straight up. So you're talking about that body job that came over here? Yeah. How did that conversation go? I mean, how did you before that? How did you know you were on that? How did you know that? Like I said, everybody knows what we're all about. They come by, we do reviews and stuff like that. So I know.
All right. Prior to getting into how did you know he was going to come over, did you inquire as to whether he had, I mean, he agreed that he knew that he liked to dress fashionably.
Yes.
Did you, what was his response to whether they had a more than just an acquaintance, friendship, relationship?
He said he did not have any kind of sexual relationship with him.
All right. At this time, did you indicate to him that you knew what their messages were about on Snapchat?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I saw it earlier, and so I started like,
All right. What were y'all talking about here?
We were talking about where Jay Lee, if Tim did anything, where they met at, or how Jay Lee knew Tim was home, and how he did Jay Lee reach out to him and call him, or reach out any kind of other any kind of electronic device to know Tim was home, and he said he met Jay Lee earlier at either Walmart or Home Depot.
All right. Sounds good.
So yeah, I saw him, and we were like, I got to give up a lot of food, which I appreciate it. You know about it? No, sir. Other than like I was mentioning, I mean, that's like the outside and dealing with like mom, and it's all there, so I can go on.
All right. Right there, if you were able to hear, y'all are talking about what?
Molly Bar Trails.
All right. Now, what was significant about his response?
He said Tim Herrington said he doesn't go over there much because they tow from over there.
Okay.
And to me, that was significant because he knows the towing practices of that business and that complex.
Yeah, so I reckon I'm over there, but I now that's right. Last time I went to my bar was now.
All right. Was that additional information that he provided significant to you about Molly Bar Trails?
No, absolutely. Tim Herrington said he hadn't been over there in a few months, but we were able to find video of him running out of the complex that morning on July 8th.
So I got, they're getting on my way by, so I'll be station. So, first off, we got to make anybody, how many people think about this, 30, 40? Yes, we're, I wish they were, we didn't have time to talk to everybody, talk to people. The whole time, we're trying to talk to the person. Next person. I think the way to do that, the way we were kind of, spitballing as a team, trying to figure out how this or shooters. It's not going to this is the artist. Have you seen her text, call, have you seen Jimmy realize and say, we were trying to do that, and nothing we're doing right. So we can get it all at once. We finish up here. I'm going to call. She said, hey, Tim, good to go. So, we'll go back and we'll talk to people, and then also we'll ask if we can get a phone. what time frame we can send, just so we can verify certain text messages or anything like that. So, are you cool with that?
Yes, sir. What do y'all
Well, which one? Which is fine. I'm actually there, but, you know, here's the thing, if you are thinking with this, I don't think you're this cooperative with this.
Right.
So, you know, I appreciate you talking to me. We just want to go through everybody, mark off this, correct? But you'll have it, just keep out there, go stuff on some like this.
Okay, so, what do you know, like, Mr. Chairman?
We just look through the comments, we're going to finish, after that's out there, taking messages from clearly, you know, like something out live or something, you know, we can, things like that. So, but that's it, I'll ask a couple more questions. What? You saw, you believe, or you doesn't come back, right?
All right. Why was that important information to you right there? You saw him, he leaves, but he doesn't come back.
Yes. Asking Tim if he saw Jay leave, which he said he did. He leaves, which Tim said he did. And he doesn't come back, according to Tim, was very important because Khalid Fears already knew that he came back over there. He was going to meet somebody that had previously blocked him on some social device, and he was going back to meet somebody that he had met earlier in the night.
All right. And in canvassing people that were associated with Jay Lee, would you ask a question like, hey,
Being the witness, would you ask questions like this and that? I mean,
I'm going to ask you to rephrase your questions. I don't know exactly what it was going to be, so.
started out as a leading question.
Yes, started out that way. I bet it's going to end that way.
the questions that you were asking Tim, some are specific to information you know. Are some of the questions the same type of question you would ask other people?
Absolutely. Do you know Tim? Have you seen, do you know Jay Lee? Have you seen him any time since July 8th? Those are standard questions that we would ask anybody trying to ascertain any information we can about where Jay Lee is.
Was one of those questions that you would ask, what do you think happened to him?
Absolutely. I think that's a very important question because everybody has a different opinion or thought or may know something, and we want to know what that is by asking, what do you think happened to someone? It may point us in a direction that leads us somewhere else, and hopefully what we were hoping for is the discovery of Jay Lee.
I don't know. You said that we have this time to use like, aggravator. I don't know, just like when they had that sick somebody that you know like that could be that could be one another could be I don't know, like personally.
All right. Did you hear his response to that question?
Yes, based on what you had told me, I'm not going to get it exactly word for word here. Could have went and had casual sex with somebody and they kidnapped him.
Okay. When you were canvassing, did anybody else have a response like that?
No, sir.
Was that significant to you?
Absolutely it was.
Why?
Looking at that statement after we interviewed Tim, not only at his apartment, but at CID later on, and after we continued with the investigation, I think what happened is Tim described what he did to Jay Lee.
A jury has found an Akron woman guilty of stabbing her mother to death more than 3 years ago. Investigators say Sydney Powell and her mother Brenda got into an
All right, so there you have it. That's all I have. But let's Super Bowl and I are going to recap the night. So we didn't see, what we didn't see is, I don't know why they cut that. Maybe that's part of, like Brat said, jury gate. All right, so we heard from a lot of witnesses. Dude, you got to move it on. We heard from Leslie Christensen. Ugh, Super Bowl. We heard from Leslie Christensen, who was a supervisor at the bank. And she basically just had a video of the truck coming in. Yeah. That was it. But I'll read, I have a transcript of what happened, so I'm just going to recap real quick. So Leslie Christensen, she was at the bank. She had a video of the truck coming in at 6:55 p.m. on July 8th. Remember, all this happened between 6 and 7. Then we had Dana Hood, who was the office manager at the Family Tree Cleaners, which was also Rainbow Cleaners. They changed their name. And he came in, there was video of him coming in at 9:28, which would have been, about 2 hours after whatever happened. And it's interesting that both Timothy and his mom wanted the receipt of that interaction. Then Thomas Christopher Klink came in. He was a neighbor across the street. He had video of the box truck. He also said, and there was still footage and video of Timothy bringing what looked like a shovel into the truck, and the box truck was, we found out through the next witness that he was a co-owner for a moving company. So Thomas said that he worked at Grenada School District and that Mrs. Herrington is somewhat his boss, and that the Herringtons are a well-known family in Grenada. And he was kind of pushed a little bit, like, did you feel awkward or pressure about coming in, and did you think that there might be some retaliation or something? And he said no. So I guess we'll take it for what it is there. Then Douglas Pittman came in. He worked at Walmart, and he said there's video of somebody buying duct tape. Of course, Walmart enters the trial as always. Somebody came in and bought duct tape around 7:40. Between 6:30 and 7:15. So I think they said 6:45. That was on July 8th. So again, that kind of matches. If he did what he did at 6:15, 6:30. And there was a receipt of that purchase, but I wanted to know if it was cash or charge, because that would have told us a lot. And then Tyson King, who has known Timothy since junior high, they started a moving company in the summer of 2020. There is a photo of that truck getting gas at 6:58, and Timothy was in Hattiesburg, which, there was only one set of keys, I think, to the truck, so it pretty much had to be Timothy driving that truck. Then again, I'll say that he got poor Tyson was in the middle of a move, and he got like 3 or 4 phone calls, he said, from an unlisted number, and then a minute later, the police come in and they basically they took his truck, they seized his truck. So I would not be happy with the way that went down either. He said he was going to cooperate with them, and then they just came in and did what they're going to do anyway. So then Lieutenant Shane Fortner, he was what we just saw. He's just had the body cam of the interview, and I know it sounded like they were recording on potatoes, DNIC, but that was some pretty interesting. That was an interesting interview, because Tim is basically saying, no, I don't know anything, but then he's the one that offered. He says he hadn't been to Molly Bar Trails in months, but then they said, well, we have video of somebody running away, and that person ended up being you because you were picked up a few blocks away from there and you were wearing the same clothes, so you were busted there. Herrington did say, let's see. He says Herrington had not mentioned an early morning encounter with Lee, only mentioned that night. He never mentioned having Snapchat messages with Lee in the early morning hours, so withholding information, perhaps. Not divulging, no problem. He did acknowledge that he knew that Lee liked to dress in feminine clothing, but he had no idea how Lee's car got to the apartment complex. He did, dude, serious? Come on. I think they're getting hungry. They're getting really antsy here. They're getting hungry. So just bear with me, kiddies. Fortner asked Herrington if he and Lee had a sexual relationship, and Herrington said that he did not. But Herrington did not know that detectives had seen his Snapchat message, so, again, lying. Yeah, so Herrington told detectives he didn't go over there much to Molly Bar trails because of the towing aspect, and that was pretty significant because he knew about the towing practices, and he had not been to the Molly Bar Trail apartments in a few months. All right, so now I'm going to read to you a transcript of what happened. This is what we did not see. Hold on. I'll read this transcript for you, to you. All right. All right, after signing his Miranda rights and being taken into custody, detectives conducted another interview with Timothy Herrington. Fortner explained that he knew Herrington had at least a college education and that Herrington acknowledged that he understood his rights. He waived them and he agreed to speak to investigators. Always a bad move. Always ask for an attorney. While the jury was excused, the judge ruled that video of this interrogation must end with when Herrington invoked his right for an attorney. During that interview, Herrington told investigators that he and Lee had a deeper relationship than he previously told them, and that the information he provided at his apartment was not entirely accurate. Interesting. Herrington admitted to having a sexual relationship with Lee, so now he's admitting it. Herrington admitted to having sex with Lee on the morning of July 8th. Herrington said he knew Lee was coming over because the two talked over Snapchat. So previously he said he didn't know, and now he's admitting it. Herrington admitted to having multiple Snapchat accounts, including one that used his nickname Red. The relevant messages found in Lee's Snapchat account belonged to the account Red Eye 24. When asked what his Red account was, Herrington mentioned Red Eye. Fortner said that he emphasized the, I or L sound at the end of his account in order to move forward with his statement. Fortner believes that Herrington emphasized the, I'm going to go with I syllable because he caught himself confessing his Snapchat handle. Red Eye. Herrington previously told investigators that Lee came over to his apartment, gave him a gift, and left. During his in-custody interview, Herrington told detectives that Lee came over, gave him oral sex, and left. And that's what Lee said. He said he was going to go over. That's what he was telling Khalid. He was going to go over and give himself some. Plus, he also said that in a Snapchat that the only reason he was going to come back over was to have that. So Fortner then told Herrington that investigators knew through a tip that Lee was on the phone when he left his apartment and that he was going to meet somebody. Herrington then admits that Lee came back to his apartment, contradicting what he told investigators earlier. When Lee came back, Herrington said he made it up to him, referring to giving Lee oral sex. Herrington then said that Lee blocked him on Snapchat and that Herrington reached out to Lee again through a different account. So there's where the blocked came in. When Lee came back over to Herrington's apartment, Herrington said he gave Lee oral sex. Herrington then said Lee left and had to do something related to his internship, according to Fortner. Herrington then had a hard time describing to investigators how Lee left his apartment, such as in his car or on foot. Fortner said that investigators could not find any record of Herrington trying to contact Lee after July 8th, though Herrington did search Lee's name on social media multiple times. He was also searching police finding a dead body, searching for Ole Miss students. Herrington then told investigators that he went to Walmart after Lee left his apartment. Herrington said that he bought tape and food. Footage from Walmart shows Herrington at Walmart. A receipt also shows that Herrington made a purchase at Walmart on the morning of July 8th. Video from Walmart shows Herrington driving a white Ford Escape into the parking lot. While Herrington was in Walmart, according to Fortner, Herrington looked at large garbage cans and even speaks to an associate while looking at the garbage cans. Herrington then buys duct tape. Yes, we didn't see that. So Harrington's interview, he told investigators that he had a move later on July 8th, and Harrington's business partner, Tyson King, kept calendar notes of the moving jobs the two had. No moving job was noted on King's calendar for July 8th. King previously testified to this. Fortner said that Herrington had no reason to be looking at the garbage can since he lived in an apartment with a large trash compactor. Interesting. Herrington then told investigators that he did not go anywhere else after going to Walmart. Fortner said detectives later learned that he did go somewhere else. Video from a Chevron in Oxford taken on the morning of July 8th was then introduced. Fortner explained that video was important because investigators wanted to know where Herrington's car went after he left Walmart. At 6:51 a.m., Herrington's car is seen going by. At 6:57 a.m., Herrington and King's work box truck is seen going down Jackson Avenue. Fortner said that he was able to identify Herrington in that box truck. Ooh, I wish we had seen all this. King previously testified that the box truck was parked at the Lynx apartment complex. Fortner testified that the video shows Herrington driving toward both the Lynx and Lafayette Place. Then Herrington told detectives that he went on a run near the airport after he got back from Walmart. The distance from the Chevron to Lafayette Place is 1.5 miles. So if Herrington left his apartment at 7 and was seen on video running at the Molly Bar Trails apartments later at 7:34, a distance of over 7 miles, he'd have to average about 4 miles and 44 seconds per mile to be at Molly Bar Trails apartment at that time. Interesting, right? The prosecution then brought up previous testimony that Herrington was not sweating heavily when he was picked up while running, implying that someone who ran over 7 miles at an average pace of nearly 5 minutes a mile would be sweating heavily. Harrington then spoke about getting a ride while running after he passed the Rockets gas station. And Fortner said that both routes, the route Lee's car went and the route that Herrington described his run, went by Rockets gas station. Only Tim didn't come running by. So that then so we did get to some cross. I'm going to put up a poll. Testifying now. Squeegee. All right, let me do a poll. All right, I'm starting a poll for you guys. So answer the poll while I do, I'm going to read. So there was cross-examination. Oh, no, wait, sorry. That happened today. So that was it. That was it for day 4. So day 5 happened today, guys. Day 5 happened today. And we will not stream it tomorrow. We'll pick it up on Monday, and we'll see where we get. Maybe we can do half of day 5 tomorrow, and then the rest of day 5 on Tuesday. We'll see how we get, because I would love to be caught up at some point in this trial. I want to be caught. I need option for guilty AF. Well, I guess it's implied only fan. So DNIC, he's young. Wherever they buried him, he will be found. Yeah, unless there's the truth to that rumor. Oh, Super Bowl. Unless there's truth to the rumor that there's a funeral home somewhere, crematorium accessed, and we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. So I see nobody voted. Yeah, innocent. 0 for innocent. 18 votes. 0. I don't know, man. It's not looking good, chat. It's not looking good for Mr. Herrington. I want to see what defense comes up with. I voted guilty, but I want to see what defense. I know as a juror we're not supposed to make up our minds until we hear all evidence. But all right. So tomorrow we're going to take off. We got food prep. I need to make some tzatziki or tzatziki, however you say it. Make it every week, so I need to make that. I'm going to make some chickpeas roasted red peppers, onions, with a red sauce, and that I usually have over like a bed of rice, or I can put pasta with that, or over a bed of rice. And then I have some spinach, so I toss that in too. That's really tasty. Erin probably is going to make some chicken. I'm not sure what she's doing, but she's probably going to make some chicken. I still have a leftover Thanksgiving dish that I made, a chickpea dish. Wait, I'm sorry. I finished that for lunch today. Tomorrow breakfast is going to be pizza. We have some leftover pizza. What other meal prep are we doing? I think that's it. Oh, Erin made a cashew queso. Man, it is so good, chat. You guys, it is so good. All right, I'm going to vote. Oh, I already voted. Okay, we're going to end that. Yes, Haley Mouse. I love it too. I can't spell it worth a crap, but I love it. Yeah, we make it every week. And you can put it on just about anything and everything. Oh, couscous. I got to make my couscous dish, which is couscous, and then it's tomatoes. It's all raw. The only thing that's cooked is couscous. So everything else is raw. Cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, dill, black olives, a little bit of lemon. I'm trying to think what else. I think that's it. Cats will love chicken. Yeah, we feed them raw. We feed our cats raw. We've been feeding when we had our Jack Russells. We switched over to raw. Thank you, Julie. I love you to the moon and back. Yes, we love you too, Julie. Thank you for being a wonderful mod. Guys, chat, thank our mods. OnlyFan, Julie, Therapist You Know, Brat, Unbalanced Equation. I think he's gone for the night. But Cooking with the Squeege, yeah. That's Patreon. If you guys join Patreon, I'll give you a behind-the-scenes look. We can have a behind-the-scenes look if you join Patreon, because that would have been a members only, but since we've been demonetized by Facebook, demonetized by YouTube, come on over to Patreon and I'll give you a look behind. Yeah, tabbouleh, yeah. Couscous, yeah, I like couscous. Tabbouleh, we have the pearl, and then we also have the real fine one, which is like a tabbouleh, I guess. Yeah, I just kind of throw everything. It evolved from another dish I did. It was like a real summer dish. It was like celery, cucumber, vinegar, and some onions. And I would chop that up, and then I would eat that. But then it kind of evolved into this couscous dish and tomatoes, and it's one of those dishes you can pretty much throw anything in. You can have it by itself. You could throw some chicken in with you if you eat chicken. I'm not so sure about meat. Fish would probably work well. I don't know about red meat, but chicken for sure would go really well with it. So, guys, thank you. Thanks again for joining us. Really appreciate it. Erin, big shout out to her. She's over, I think, at Florida PI Sam. If you guys want to go check out Florida PI Sam, I think, is she still doing a live? Is Sam still alive? Let me check if. And Squeaky, thank you. As always, go check out our dear friend Sneaky Side, Squeaky Side. Is Sam still alive? Oh, Sam is still alive. All right, guys. If you want to go check out, hey, go raid Sam. Let's go raid Sam. Let's do a raid on Sam. All right, guys. I'm going to call it a night, and let's go raid Sam. Let's do a raid, guys. All right. I'll see you later. Thanks so much for joining us. And check us out. Patreon, if you want to support us, we're on Patreon. We are Buy a Cup of Coffee. I know Julie did that. Or Venmo. Krista, Limited Edition, bought us some coffee. You guys are great. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we'll see you probably, 9 o'clock. I'm not sure what time trial starts, but we will see you Monday at 9 o'clock, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.